Ho-young loved soccer with all his heart. Whenever a match appeared on TV, he watched with complete focus. During one live broadcast, the commentators excitedly announced Park Ji-suk's equalizing goal as the players ran across the field with relentless passion. Watching them, Ho-young quietly formed a dream of becoming the best soccer player in the world. One day during dinner, his father asked about his future dream. Without hesitation, Ho-young answered that he wanted to become a great soccer player like Park Ji-suk. His father told him that becoming a professional required talent, and those words stayed with him. Ho-young believed he had that talent and convinced himself he could succeed. In 2002, carrying enormous ambition, he joined a soccer academy. Reality quickly proved different. While dribbling during training, another child easily stole the ball and knocked him down. The gap between him and children raised in professional training environments became painfully clear. Again and again, he failed to keep up. After one practice, the coach approached him and instructed him to train separately with the lower-level group. Ho-young froze. Looking at the children practicing basic drills, he felt as though a giant wall had appeared in front of him. Unable to face that reality, he quit the academy. Back then, he cried helplessly, and his father stayed beside him to comfort him. His father reminded him that everyone blooms at their own pace, and that blooming later did not mean blooming less. But even after leaving soccer behind, Ho-young kept asking himself the same questions. What if he had not quit? Did he actually have talent? If he had continued working harder, could he have eventually succeeded? Years passed. Before he realized it, it was 2016. On a busy street, Ho-young sat quietly in a bar while his friend Lee Young-soo noticed something was wrong. Ho-young quickly hid his feelings and repeatedly congratulated him for getting accepted into a professional soccer club. His friend joked that one congratulations had already been enough. Ho-young smiled and insisted that achievements like this deserved endless celebration. As he looked at Young-soo sitting across from him, complicated emotions filled his heart. His friend had become a professional player, while he remained a part-time convenience store worker. Unable to suppress his feelings, Ho-young emptied his drink in one go. After sitting in silence for a long time, regret finally spilled out. He admitted that he still wanted to become a professional soccer player and hated himself for giving up. If he had continued back then, maybe they would have been playing together now. Young-soo laughed it off and told him that regret could not change anything anymore. But those words struck deeply. Ho-young realized he had spent years convincing himself it was already too late. Even though opportunities had appeared, he kept living in regret instead of trying again. More than anything, he wanted to return and start over. At that moment, Young-soo received a call. Some friends needed 2 more players for a 4-on-4 soccer match. Ho-young looked outside at the rain for a moment before agreeing. Soon, they arrived at the field. Everyone welcomed them, but Ho-young immediately noticed someone standing nearby. Yin Young-ho. The other man looked at him briefly before turning away coldly. Since childhood, the two had never gotten along. Yin Young-ho had once been an incredible talent, someone people believed could win major awards and even become Park Ji-suk's successor, but an injury had ended his professional career. Despite the tension, nobody said anything. Someone explained that the indoor court was full, so they would play outside. The rules were simple. First team to score 5 goals wins. The ball was thrown up. The game began. Young-soo told Ho-young to play striker. That position had always belonged to him, ever since his father first took him to soccer practice. His physique and shooting ability were decent. For a moment, he thought he had a chance. Then Yin Young-ho appeared and stole the ball effortlessly. Once again, Ho-young felt the difference between himself and a former professional. Yin Young-ho looked at him with a mocking expression. That irritated Ho-young. Still, he continued playing. No matter what happened, this was the feeling he had always missed, a serious game of soccer. Determined to prove himself, he challenged Yin Young-ho directly and managed to steal the ball once. But the moment did not last. The ball was taken from him again. His opponent criticized his dribbling before delivering a powerful kick. The ball slammed into Ho-young's leg and rolled out of bounds. Frustrated, Ho-young grabbed his collar and warned him not to push too far. Everyone quickly separated them. Even then, Yin Young-ho continued provoking him and mocked both his skill and his failure. Ho-young shot back with his own insult and ran to retrieve the ball. At that moment, thunder roared overhead. Rain poured harder. As Ho-young touched the ball, lightning struck. A violent surge of electricity exploded around him. His body disappeared into the blinding light. Inside the pain, his thoughts became chaotic. He could not accept that after achieving nothing in life, everything would end because of such an impossible accident. Was this really death? Would his life end this meaninglessly? When the smoke cleared, only his burned body remained. Filled with anger and regret, he desperately demanded his life back. After calming down slightly, he finally noticed something strange. This was not normal. Where is he? Then a chilling laugh echoed behind him. A fierce wind rose. From the darkness, a strange figure slowly appeared, neither human nor beast. Terrified, but trying to stay calm, Ho-young asked whether the creature was some kind of demon. The figure smiled with interest and asked how he had known. Ho-young stared at the strange being with trembling eyes and admitted that anyone looking at him would think he was a demon. The creature seemed pleased and proudly introduced himself as the demon of greed, a being humans sometimes called a mind-eater. Then, as if making a casual offer, he asked whether Ho-young wanted to make a pact. Ho-young stood frozen in front of the strange figure with a serpentine tail, unable to decide whether this was reality or some strange dream. After calming himself slightly, he asked what kind of deal he meant. The demon responded indifferently. A moment later, 2 glowing orbs appeared in his hand. He explained that Ho-young could choose between 2 things. Raising the blue orb first, he introduced it as time. Then he lifted the purple orb and explained that it represented power. Ho-young listened carefully. The demon continued and explained that with the first option, Ho-young could return to any point in time, from at least 10 years back to as far as 23 years. Ho-young immediately became interested, but the demon's expression turned colder as he warned that nothing in this world came for free. Surprised, Ho-young asked what price he would have to pay. The demon raised a finger and lightly touched him. Then he explained the condition. For every year Ho-young returned, 1 year of his lifespan would disappear. The opportunity to rewrite his life appeared in front of him, but it demanded part of that life in return. Seeing him hesitate, the demon calmly added that returning 23 years meant sacrificing 23 years of life. Still, nobody knew how long they would live anyway. Ho-young gave an awkward smile. Then, after thinking quietly, he accepted the logic. If he could not live the way he wanted, dying earlier or later made little difference. Besides, people often live to old age, so sacrificing a few years seemed acceptable. After that, Ho-young asked about the second orb. The demon raised the purple sphere and explained that it contained his power. Ho-young did not understand and asked what kind of power a demon could possibly offer. The demon explained simply. It was a power that would help him obtain everything he desired. Ho-young still looked confused. Seeing that, the demon clarified. This ability would allow him to take the talents of others. Hearing that explanation, Ho-young began thinking. Words alone were difficult to trust, but if it was true, then perhaps he could finally achieve everything he wanted. As he continued thinking, the demon extended his hand. Light flowed from Ho-young as though something had been extracted. For a moment, Ho-young wondered if this deal felt less like a transaction and more like charity. Then both of them slowly rose into the air. The demon smiled slyly and asked one final question. How many years did you want to go back? Ho-young stared blankly. After a long silence, he covered his face and laughed softly. It sounded ridiculous, but if it was true, he wanted to return. The world suddenly shook. Ho-young opened his eyes. Startled, he stepped backward and quickly looked around. Everything felt familiar. Then his eyes landed on the calendar. At the same time, the television announced Park Young's transfer to Eintracht Frankfurt. Ho-young froze. He had really returned. Still unable to believe it, he tested his voice and heard the sound of his younger self again. He moved his arms and hands, feeling the flexibility and energy of childhood. After confirming everything, he realized this was exactly 14 years in the past. He was 10 years old again, a third-grade elementary school student. Ho-young slowly clenched his fists. His eyes became more determined than ever. He had returned to an age where anything was possible. Then voices nearby pulled him from his thoughts. His parents appeared. His father smiled warmly and casually spoke to his mother as evening approached. Ho-young stared. His parents looked so young. Soon dinner was prepared. As they ate together, his father asked the same familiar question. What was his dream? Ho-young remembered this moment. Without hesitation, he answered that he wanted to become a soccer player. His father smiled and asked whether he still wanted to become someone like Park Ji-suk. This time, Ho-young shook his head. His father looked surprised. With bright eyes and complete confidence, Ho-young said that he did not want to become someone like him. He wanted to become even greater. He wanted to become the best soccer player in the world. His straightforward answer surprised both of his parents. But they did not reject his dream. Instead, they simply smiled and gently patted his head. Ho-young looked ahead and imagined himself standing under the lights of a huge stadium. Remembering the demon's words, he made a promise to himself. This time, he would succeed. Later, sitting alone with a glass of water, Ho-young quietly reflected. He was 10 years old again, an age where possibilities still existed. As an elementary school student, all the time after school belonged to him. He could train, he could improve, he could change everything. Suddenly, he stood up and called for his father. He asked for the fever nova. His father handed him the ball. Holding it in both hands, Ho-young remembered. This was the official ball of the 2002 World Cup in Korea. Fever nova. As he held it tightly, excitement quietly built inside him. He wondered why simply looking at the ball made his heart beat so fast. A few days later, the scene shifted to the school field. A soccer match was underway. Ho-young ran across the field and kicked the ball with a smile. Sweat covered his body. Yet he kept playing. When he was young, he had wanted to grow up quickly. But only after becoming an adult had he realized something. Childhood was the happiest time. A while later, after getting tired, Ho-young stopped the ball under his foot and looked down at his hand. A thought suddenly crossed his mind. Maybe it was time to test this ability. Without hesitation, he closed his eyes and focused inward. An enormous force awakened inside him. Golden light burst out and expanded before gathering together again. Ho-young stared in surprise. Then a notification appeared. Talent acquired. None. His attention locked onto those words. He carefully checked the information again. After a long silence, he let out a disappointed smile. Back then, he had thought he showed some promise, but the result was empty. Forget being a genius. It seemed difficult even to become an ordinary player. Even after seeing that result, Ho-young continued attending school normally. A few days later, after classes ended, he stayed behind on the field practicing with the ball. While juggling, the ball slipped away unexpectedly. Ho-young sighed. This body still needed time to adapt. If only he had someone to play against. Just then, someone called out behind him. It was Young-ho. With his usual arrogant attitude, he questioned whether Ho-young even understood soccer. Seeing him again as a 10-year-old made Ho-young pause. Young-ho was smaller than the version he remembered, but his personality had not changed at all. Ho-young immediately recognized that he was looking for trouble. Young-ho mocked him further and even teased him openly. For a moment, Ho-young clenched his fist. Then he relaxed. There was no point fighting. Instead, he decided to observe him. As soon as that thought appeared, the same mysterious light appeared again. This time it floated above Young-ho. Ho-young watched carefully. Maybe this ability did not only reveal his own talent. The light intensified. Information appeared. Young-ho talent, soccer prodigy, grade B powerful mid-range shot, grade C copy condition. Play soccer together for at least 60 minutes. Ho-young's eyes widened. The ability did not only display his own talent, it revealed other people's as well. He quietly analyzed the information. Young-ho was talented, but not an impossible genius. Still, something was better than nothing. What surprised him even more was the condition. If fulfilled, he could copy the talent. Now he finally understood the demon's words. This was greed. After thinking briefly, Ho-young made a decision. No matter what happened, he would try. A system notification appeared again. It asked him to choose a talent. Soccer prodigy, grade B powerful mid-range shot, grade C. Ho-young did not hesitate. He selected soccer prodigy. At once, intense light covered his vision. When it faded, new information appeared. Ho-young talent. Soccer prodigy, grade B. His entire body trembled. For the first time, he finally possessed talent. He did not know how far he could grow in the future, but now development was possible. Looking again, he noticed something strange. Only the remaining grade C skill was left. The condition had also changed. Now only 50 minutes of play were required. Ho-young wondered whether copying removed the original talent or simply adjusted the conditions. Before he could think further, Young-ho picked up the ball and prepared to leave. Ho-young quickly stopped him and suggested playing a little longer. Young-ho refused immediately. He disliked playing with someone weaker and wanted to continue practicing. Ho-young thought for a second. Then he offered spicy rice cakes. Young-ho paused. Ho-young added chocolate. That worked instantly. Young-ho turned around to confirm. Ho-young smiled. Using food on children really was effective. After another intense session, Ho Young was completely exhausted. Then lightning-like energy flashed again. The system opened. The remaining talent became available. Ho Young immediately selected powerful mid-range shot. Light flooded his body once more. Now he possessed both. Soccer prodigy, grade B powerful mid-range shot, grade C after the excitement faded. Exhaustion hit him all at once. He finally admitted he could not continue. Yin Young-ho looked at him and casually admitted that his skills had improved. Ho Young smiled and said it was thanks to him. Yin Young-ho looked confused. Ho Young avoided explaining and simply suggested they leave. He would treat him. Yin Young-ho immediately looked suspicious and asked whether Ho Young even had any money. Ho Young answered casually that of course he had money. But internally, he was genuinely grateful to Yin Young-ho. Because of him, he had gained talent. At the very least, buying spicy rice cakes felt like the proper way to repay him. Unfortunately, Yin Young-ho immediately hit his pride with a blunt question, wondering whether his family could even afford it and whether his mother would scold him. Ho Young stared at him resentfully. Yin Young-ho really had the kind of personality that could drive away both dogs and cats. If he had stayed quiet, Ho Young might actually have treated him. Instead, Ho Young pulled out a single coin, showed it to him, and bluntly declared that he was no longer useful before sending him away. Yin Young-ho shouted behind him, but Ho Young ignored him and walked off. As he walked, he thought seriously. Talent alone was not enough. Growth also needed effort and luck. He remembered hearing about a 5-year-old soccer player who became famous online and eventually caught the attention of Manchester United. But this was a different era. There were no smartphones or YouTube. Still, there was another way. TV. Just then, a soccer broadcast playing nearby caught his attention. Watching the screen, Ho Young suddenly remembered something. There was a program perfect for this. Originally created as a youth development show during the World Cup season, it had later helped many children become professional players. Some even gained opportunities overseas. This was a golden chance. If he succeeded there, he could attract public attention immediately. He decided to aim for it. Excited, Ho Young rushed home and told his parents he wanted to appear on Shoot Dory. His father looked confused. His mother also stepped out from the kitchen to ask what he meant. Ho Young explained that Shoot Dory was a youth soccer development program where children trained, played matches, and were guided by famous coaches while everything was filmed. Since the program had only just started, it made sense that his parents had never heard of it. He quickly searched for details on the computer. The selection date was September 3rd, and applicants had to be between 8 and 10 years old. His parents read through the information together. The program would even feature singer Kim Jong-kook as coach. Ho Young grabbed both of their hands and firmly said that he wanted to participate. His parents stared for a moment, then smiled. Without hesitation, they agreed and promised to support him. If their son truly wanted it, they would support him fully. Time passed. Finally, September 3rd arrived. At the Korean Football Association training facility, the judges gathered. Producer Cho Hae-young suggested narrowing the applicants to children in the target age group and focusing on contestants who could attract attention. Someone questioned whether skill would matter. That person was Kim Jong-kook. Producer Cho explained openly that the show needed memorable underdog stories and entertaining personalities more than pure talent. Kim Jong-kook accepted and agreed to help create interesting footage. The evaluations began. One child after another was selected for different reasons: shy personalities, mischievous behavior, cuteness, appearance, and entertainment value. After reviewing several candidates, the producer asked Kim Jong-kook for his thoughts. Kim praised one earlier child for being skilled and unique enough to stand out. The producer approved the choice. Then it was Ho Young's turn. He greeted everyone confidently. Producer Cho observed him carefully. Average appearance. Not particularly tall. Already 10 years old. No special achievements written in the application. At first glance, there was nothing that immediately made him stand out. Still, the producer asked whether he liked soccer. Ho Young answered without hesitation that he loved it. Smiling, the producer invited him to show something. Ho Young immediately prepared the ball, but the producer stopped him and suggested showing another talent instead. Ho Young simply replied that soccer was what he was best at. That answer caught everyone off guard. Then he started. The ball bounced. His juggling began. Instep, thigh, control, smooth transitions. The movements continued without interruption. Then he added increasingly difficult techniques. The judges began watching him differently. Producer Cho's expression changed. Finally, Ho Young balanced the ball perfectly on his head. People around him reacted in surprise. It looked impressive. But nobody knew that this performance was not ordinary entertainment practice. Behind it was a month of serious training, daily repetition, sweat, the experience of a 24-year-old mind combined with the talent of a soccer prodigy. After finishing, Ho-young calmly stopped the ball under his foot. Kim Jong-kook quietly asked whether this child might actually be a soccer prodigy. Producer Cho admitted it looked possible but wanted more confirmation. Then Kim Jong-kook stood up. He decided to give Ho-young a small test. Ho-young looked confused. Kim walked over and proposed a simple challenge. They would play one-on-one. Kim would defend. Ho-young only needed a score. The rules were similar to freestyle play with a small goal. Ho-young accepted immediately. The staff expected little. Even if he failed to score, elimination was unlikely. After all, this was supposed to create promotional footage, not a serious skill evaluation. Ho-young focused and began dribbling. Facing Kim Jong-kook without fear, the coach casually thought he would take it easy since his opponent was just an elementary school student. But before that thought even finished, Ho-young had already slipped past him and headed straight for the goal. A clean shot. Goal! Kim Jong-kook stared in surprise. Ho-young turned back with a bright, innocent smile. Impressed, Kim handed him another ball and admitted that he was clearly more than someone good at juggling. He wanted another round. This time, he would not underestimate him. Curiosity replaced amusement. Was this kid really a prodigy? The second round began. Kim defended properly. Ho-young immediately looked for an opening and moved decisively. Using speed and technique, he created space and prepared to shoot. Then, a powerful mid-range strike flew straight into the net. The audience reacted instantly. Reporters and staff burst into excitement. Kim Jong-kook remained still for a moment. That shot had surprised him. Ho-young had understood that competing physically would not work, so he avoided direct confrontation and attacked from distance instead. The decision-making was sharp, and the shot itself had real power. At that point, further testing felt unnecessary. This child clearly had soccer talent. Ho-young quietly celebrated inside. Judging from the staff's reaction, he was confident he had made an impression. His hard work had paid off. This was a good start. If he performed well on TV, becoming known much faster no longer seemed impossible. He imagined top clubs competing for him one day. Shoot Dory had already produced players who gained national attention and even earned opportunities abroad, including Lee Kong Kyle's path to Valencia. But Ho-young's goal was even higher. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Those dreams could wait. Someone suddenly called his name. Kim Jong-kook approached. Ho-young was surprised that he already knew his name and casually mentioned seeing him on music shows before. Kim smiled, then unexpectedly crouched down and praised his soccer skills directly. Ho-young's face lit up, and he returned the compliment with an excited high five. Kim laughed. Curious, Ho-young asked whether he would appear on the program too. Kim explained that his brother was involved in production and had invited him to participate. At that moment, Ho-young's parent arrived. His father greeted Kim politely. Kim returned the greeting and recognized them as Ho-young's parents. They thought he looked familiar. Ho-young quickly introduced him as singer Kim Jong-kook. His father immediately realized and apologized for not recognizing him sooner. Kim smiled and took the opportunity to praise their son. He explained that he had just watched Ho-young play and was genuinely impressed. Ho-young's father agreed proudly. Even as his parent, hearing praise like that still felt special. Kim joked that with enough growth, Ho-young might even end up overseas someday. Watching them get along so quickly, Ho-young found it funny how they already looked like old friends. Before leaving, Kim wished him luck. Ho-young returned the encouragement enthusiastically. Then suddenly, the system appeared. Kim Jong-kook talent detected copy condition. Practice physical training together for 60 minutes. Ho-young looked confused. This talent had nothing to do with soccer. Still, he immediately called Kim back. Then he asked if Kim could recommend protein supplements. Kim looked surprised at first, then laughed. He explained that Ho-young was still too young, but learning early was harmless. Ho-young agreed immediately. Secretly, he felt that Kim seemed unusually interested in the topic. He remembered hearing that people who love bodybuilding enjoyed discussing things like this. Maybe it was true. Taking advantage of the moment, Ho-young asked whether Kim could also teach him physical training. Kim agreed enthusiastically. At the same time, the system reacted again. Ho-young's eyes lit up. From that point on, Kim patiently taught him everything from basic stretching and warm-ups to scientific diet concepts. They trained together until both were covered in sweat. Ho-young even competed against him. Eventually, the system appeared once more. It asked him to choose a talent. Without hesitation, he selected perfect muscles after confirmation. Ho Young immediately felt subtle changes throughout his body. His muscles felt stronger. Soccer players did not need bodybuilder physiques, but stronger physical ability would definitely help. Later, Ho Young's father arrived to pick him up and thanked Kim sincerely for spending so much time with his son. Kim simply smiled and said he enjoyed it. He had no busy schedule lately, and exercising together had been fun. Privately, Kim thought this day felt different. He had always liked children, but this was the first kid he had met who was genuinely interested in training and bodybuilding. About 2 weeks later, a phone call arrived at Ho Young's house. After listening for a moment, his father rushed into Ho Young's room. Before Ho Young understood what was happening, his father hugged him and lifted him into the air. Excitedly, he announced that Ho Young had done it. The spinning almost made Ho Young dizzy. Then realization hit. Had MBS contacted them? Was he selected? The answer was yes. Ho Young's name had officially been added to the Shoot Dory roster. His dream had become reality. He jumped in excitement. Soon his mother heard the news too, and the whole family celebrated proudly. They even joked about appearance fees, fan clubs, and advertisement offers. His parents laughed and imagined him becoming a celebrity. But Ho Young quietly smiled. That was never his goal. He wanted to become a player. Even though he had expected this result, he still could not stop feeling moved. This was the first miracle he had achieved after returning. And for the first time, he would appear on television as one of the main characters. Ho Young's determination only became stronger. He promised himself that he would succeed. As long as he could seize the opportunity to show his skills to the world, everything else would follow. Fan clubs, advertisements, and popularity meant nothing to him. His only goal, soccer. Holding the ball in his hands, Ho Young closed his eyes. A vision appeared. A massive stadium, crowds cheering from every direction, and himself standing on the field as a professional player. He imagined playing across the world. Wembley, Old Trafford, Camp Nou, Santiago Bernabeu. The thought alone filled him with excitement. Soon after, he left home to train. No matter what happened, skill mattered more than appearing on TV. Every soccer fan dreams of becoming the next Messi or Ronaldo. But dreaming and reality are different. In your head, scoring looks easy. Once the ball reaches your feet, the body often refuses to follow. The reason is simple, basic skills. And among those basics, ball juggling came first. Controlling the ball repeatedly with the instep before it touched the ground required concentration and endless repetition. Even legends started there. Step by step, Ho Young trained relentlessly. Even when breathing became difficult, he refused to stop. He could feel himself improving. This truly was the effect of a soccer prodigy's talent. But talent alone was not enough. He pushed further, 1,000 more touches. Every day, in the afternoon, he focused on physical training. Soccer was ultimately a physical battle. Technique and shooting meant little without stamina. Still, he knew overtraining was dangerous. Even so, after pushing himself too far, he collapsed onto the field. Breathing heavily, he proudly counted his result. 8 laps. Then his eyes sharpened. Shoot Dory. He would conquer it. That night, before sleeping, he made himself another promise. After passing the selection, success was the only option. He started sleeping early. Every morning at 6, he woke up and stretched for 30 minutes to improve flexibility. He even planned ahead for growth. He used to reach only around 170 centimeters, but this time he wanted to maximize his development and aim higher. After school, he practiced ball control, trained regularly, ate properly, improved fitness, and repeated the routine day after day. Before he realized it, recording day arrived. The next morning, reporters and filming equipment filled the field. Everyone looked excited. Only Ho Young felt nervous. Seeing that, Coach Kim Jong-kuk quietly asked if he was excited. Ho Young admitted that he was, but his expression remained stiff. Looking around before the match, he reminded himself his first evaluation game had finally arrived. He had waited for this moment for a long time. Then the announcement came. Their opponent, Chomkwon Football Academy, one of Korea's strongest youth teams. At that moment, producer Choi pulled Kim Jong-kuk aside. He confidently explained his plan. There was no need to hold back. Even if they lost by 20 goals, it did not matter. Failure itself would become the story. The audience would sympathize with the children, then later cheer when they eventually improved. To him, that was the perfect emotional narrative. Then he glanced toward Ho Young. The promotional footage from earlier had been extremely successful, especially Ho Young's test scene. Rumors even suggested Kim Jong-kook had watched it multiple times. Producer Choi quietly thought that if Ho Young became popular, the story would become even stronger. Still, he remained realistic. Soccer was a team sport. No matter how talented one child was, defeating an elite academy would be difficult. Meanwhile, Ho Young continued warming up quietly, stretching, focusing. A reporter approached and informed producer Choi that everything was ready. The opening ceremony began. The teams lined up. They shook hands. Everyone looked determined. Commentator Choi Sung-dan opened the broadcast and welcomed viewers to the third stadium at Yangon City Football Center. Today marked FC Shoot Dory's first evaluation match. Their opponent, FC Chom. Actor Kim Bong-jin joined as guest commentator and encouraged the team, saying that even defeat could become valuable experience. The referee tossed the coin. Shoot Dory earned kickoff. The young captain confidently encouraged his teammates. Families filled most of the stands and watched happily. The whistle blew. The match began. Many expected nothing more than children chasing a ball. Even the production staff thought viewers mainly wanted cute moments. But Ho Young's eyes looked different. The moment kickoff started, he moved. He received the ball and accelerated immediately. Fast, direct, without hesitation. The defenders froze. Before anyone understood what was happening, Ho Young struck. A powerful shot flew from midfield. The goalkeeper reacted too late. Goal. Silence. Then chaos. The commentators shouted in disbelief. A goal, just seconds after kickoff. From midfield, producer Choi stood frozen. The reporter beside him asked what had happened. All cameras immediately turned toward Ho Young. His teammates looked confused, wondering where he was running. But Ho Young already knew. He sprinted forward and celebrated, jumping with complete confidence. Secretly, he even thought that besides talent, he might also be talented at celebrations. The commentator announced the moment excitedly. Ho Young had scored directly from midfield. An unbelievable goal. Actor Kim Bong-jin laughed in amazement and praised the celebration too. That confident pose, it looked exactly like someone declaring himself the best. The FC Chom goalkeeper stood frozen after the opening chaos. He could barely process what had happened. It was the first time he had seen a shot like that from someone who was supposedly only 10 years old. On the sidelines, the opposing coach watched quietly. This was Coach Lee Sang-won. Although now working as a coach, 7 years earlier he had represented the country and built a reputation as one of the National Football League's most respected players. After watching the goal, he became thoughtful. The shot itself had been excellent. The balance was stable. But physically, Ho Young was smaller than average. That body should not have generated that kind of power. His conclusion was simple. This child had natural talent. A prodigy. As both a former player and a coach, he trusted his own judgment. Ho Young not only understood how to finish plays, but also showed awareness far beyond his age. Sang-won replayed the scene in his head. The technique itself looked simple. But understanding when and how to use it was something children rarely achieved through explanation alone. Most had to discover it through experience. Reaching that level through practice alone seemed unlikely. To him, Ho Young looked born to play soccer, and he believed the boy would go even further. Meanwhile, FC Chom quickly recovered. Refusing to lose momentum, they started scoring repeatedly. One goal after another followed, including one from player Hwang Ki-dong. The commentators announced that only the second half had begun and the score had already widened to 8-3. FC Chom truly showed why they were considered elite. Ho Young's early goal had shaken them briefly, but once they regained focus, they responded with overwhelming teamwork. The commentators praised their coordination and discussed whether Shoot Dory could eventually reach that level with proper training. One even suggested that if they managed to win even a single match this month, it would already be meaningful progress. On the field, Ho Young bent forward, trying to catch his breath. Even though the field was only 1/6 the size of standard stadium and the format was 6 versus 6, the amount of ground each player covered was exhausting. One teammate excitedly talked about how fun soccer was. Then suddenly, the ball hit Ho Young directly in the face. A teammate quickly helped him sit and rest. Ho Young smiled bitterly. Honestly, he had expected something like this. Shoot Dory was still inexperienced. If he had an adult body, maybe carrying the game alone would not feel impossible. But talent was not magic. 1 against 6 had clear limits. Still, that was okay. The important thing was showing everyone what he could do. Only 3 minutes remained. FC Chom prepared for kickoff. They valued every opportunity. But the moment play resumed, Ho Young moved. He pressed immediately. The commentators shouted as he stole the ball. He accelerated. Defenders chased him. Then the problem appeared. Multiple players surrounded him. Coach Sang-won had already instructed his team to focus entirely on marking number 7. No matter how talented he was, they believed pressure would stop him. Ho Young stayed calm. This was difficult, but not impossible. He moved carefully. One touch. Another. Then suddenly, he slipped through. The defensive line collapsed. Coach Sang-won widened his eyes. Even FC Chom's players looked shocked. Commentators could hardly believe what they were seeing. The ball looked attached to his feet. His movement disrupted everyone. Then he shot. Goal. The ball flew cleanly into the net. Ho Young immediately jumped in celebration. His face was full of relief and excitement. A perfect solo play. The commentators praised him endlessly. This was already his 5th goal. They admitted that Ho Young had not looked this dominant in practice. Maybe he was the type who became stronger in real matches. A true standout among his peers. Inside, Ho Young remained calm. This body was 10, but his mind was 24. When a soccer prodigy's talent combined with adult experience, competing against children felt completely different, like pairing modern software with powerful hardware. Eventually, the match ended. FC Chom won 14-5. Exhausted, Ho Young collapsed on the grass. Still, he smiled. There were no regrets. The team had lost, but he had done everything he could. That was part of soccer's appeal, and hopefully, it would be enough to make people remember him. After the match, a reporter enthusiastically declared that although FC Chom had won convincingly, today's MVP was undoubtedly Ho Young for scoring 5 goals. The camera immediately turned toward him. Surprised, Ho Young agreed to a short interview. When asked how he felt, he thought for a moment, then answered confidently. He was still hungry. The answer reminded people of the famous 2002 World Cup quote about still being hungry even after success. Afterward, Ho Young ran to his mother. She hugged him proudly and asked what he wanted for dinner. Without hesitation, he chose chicken. When she asked whether he wanted stewed or fried, he immediately asked for both. While they laughed, someone approached. It was Coach Sang-won. Ho Young recognized him instantly. Sang-won politely introduced himself as a coach from Chom Kwan Football Academy. His mother immediately recognized him from television. Smiling, he admitted that Ho Young's soccer had genuinely impressed him and that even now he still felt excited after watching the match. He thanked Ho Young for giving him such an enjoyable game. His mother reminded Ho Young to thank him properly. Ho Young did, but then asked honestly why the coach kept calling himself his teacher. Sang-won paused, then decided to speak directly. He wanted to personally teach Ho Young. His mother looked shocked. She appreciated the offer, but wondered whether her son was truly that talented. Sang-won explained calmly. At the academy, they could usually evaluate a child's future potential within 3 months. Although it might sound early, Ho Young had already shown qualities approaching genius. Hearing Coach Sang-won's words, both Ho Young and his mother were stunned. Even Ho Young himself had never thought of his ability as genius level. Sang-won admitted honestly that he knew it might not be proper to approach them like this, but after watching Ho Young play, he simply could not stay still. He wanted to teach him personally. His mother looked confused and asked what he meant. Sang-won explained further and asked about the academy Ho Young currently attended. His mother quietly corrected him. There seemed to be a misunderstanding. Ho Young had never attended any football academy. Sang-won froze. Then who had taught him? His mother explained that when Ho Young was younger, he occasionally played soccer with his father, but had never received formal training. That answer shocked him even more. After calming down, he asked another question. Had they ever considered raising Ho Young to become a professional player? His mother answered honestly. As long as it was good for her son, she was willing to support him. But she carefully asked about the academy fees. Sang-won explained that tuition depended on placement after the entrance test. However, he was confident Ho Young would enter S-class immediately. S-class required exceptional talent. Children without enough ability usually entered A-class, and even getting into A-class meant competing through long waiting lists. Simply reaching S-class was already something people were proud of. He explained the tuition structure and monthly payment options. His mother hesitated. Prestigious academies were naturally expensive. Even Ho Young's appearance fee would not cover much of it. If she wanted proper training for her son, she might have to use savings. Before she could think further, Ho Young spoke. He asked whether he could pay later. Sang-won looked confused. Ho Young smiled and confidently declared that when he became a famous player, he would repay everything 100 times over. His mother quickly scolded him for saying something like that. But Sang-won laughed. He liked that attitude. A soccer player needed confidence. To him, Ho Young seemed like a responsible child. Ho Young happily thanked him and stretched out his hand. Then he suggested they make a promise and work hard together from now on. Sang-won accepted immediately. Then he revealed another opportunity. The academy had a special talent program. His mother asked what that meant. Sang-won explained that it was essentially a scholarship system for exceptionally gifted children. Luckily, one spot remained. He promised to personally recommend Ho Young to the director. His mother sincerely thanked him. But Sang-won was not finished. If Ho Young improved enough, they would create opportunities for overseas training and professional youth teams. Domestic conditions alone were often not enough to develop world-class talent. Ho Young became excited. The idea of training with other talented players sounded incredible. The agreement was settled. Sang-won asked them to bring Ho Young for the entrance test the next day. His mother agreed. Inside, Ho Young quietly smiled. If he entered the academy, more people would notice him. Becoming a special student felt inevitable. Everything was moving according to plan. From now on, he only needed to focus on soccer. Before leaving, he bowed respectfully and promised to do his best. Sang-won looked at him with genuine expectations. The next day, his mother brought him to the academy. As he walked through the facilities and looked at the other children, Ho Young quietly observed them. Surprisingly, none of their displayed talent stood out. Even if they had talent, his soccer prodigy ability could not copy lower-ranked abilities. That only confirmed his thoughts. Yin Yong-ho truly had been exceptional, and Sang-won's eye for talent was impressive, though Ho Young no longer needed that ability. Sooner or later, he would meet players with even greater talent. Later at home, he told his father everything. His father was shocked. He regretted not taking a day off because missing the chance to meet Lee Sang-won felt disappointing. But more than that, he was proud of his son. Immediately, his father grabbed the phone and ordered a large premium pizza that had been advertised on TV. While giving the address, he excitedly told the staff that his son had joined Chom Kwan Football Academy. He sounded almost too excited himself. When the pizza arrived, Ho Young stared at it. In the past, their family rarely bought things like this. His mother happily commented on the smell and encouraged him to eat more. As a child, he had always wanted food like this but rarely asked because he understood the family situation. But now, he promised himself things would be different. He would succeed, and he would repay them. Sitting at the table, he happily started eating. Everything tasted unexpectedly good. He even wondered whether his younger body simply enjoyed these foods more. His father joked and asked whether it was really that delicious. Ho Young answered immediately. It was, and his parents were the best. 9 days later, Shoot Dory finally aired. Its novelty, humor, emotion, and the charm of the children made it an instant success. People watched each match seriously and cheered for the teams. Then Ho Young's father suddenly congratulated him. Confused, Ho Young asked why. His father excitedly revealed that Coach Lee Sang-won had called. The academy wanted to officially accept Ho Young as a special student. Ho Young quietly celebrated inside. His mother was equally excited. Then she suddenly shouted another piece of news. Someone had created a fan cafe for Ho Young. Both father and son froze. His father quickly searched online. Only one day after the broadcast, more than 200 members had already joined. People were calling Ho Young the player who would continue Park Young's legacy. Ho Young stared at the screen. Not all comments were positive. Arguments had already started. But honestly, that was expected. Korean soccer fans had enormous expectations. After the glory of 2002, people kept searching for the next hero. Reading everything, Ho Young quietly thought, so this was what it felt like to become the center of attention. Even criticism felt strangely satisfying. Meanwhile, his father continued scrolling. Then his expression darkened. Some comments claimed the show was scripted. Others said the children were acting. Some even insisted Ho Young must come from a wealthy family and had only appeared because of money. His father gritted his teeth in frustration. These people really had no idea what they were talking about. His mother gently calmed his father and told him not to care about those comments. People were simply jealous of Ho Young. She asked Ho Young what he thought. The boy answered calmly. If people wanted to be jealous, they could let them. His father stared in surprise. Even his mother smiled and agreed. Inside, Ho Young remained realistic. This kind of reaction was normal. Celebrities, especially athletes, always faced criticism online. Still, seeing so many harsh comments annoyed him. Looking at the screen, he quietly promised himself that one day he would make everyone stop doubting him. The next day at Chom Kwan Football Academy, Ho-young carefully observed his surroundings. He watched the academy students compete. The level was clearly different. Their stamina, technique, and speed stood out immediately. Standing outside the field, Ho-young carefully studied everything: their movement into the penalty area, their timing, and even the beautiful curve of their shots. There were talented players everywhere. To him, it felt like standing in front of a buffet. His confidence rose. It was finally time to search for his fourth talent. Sweat covered his face as he kept training. Meanwhile, his mother arrived carrying his younger sibling and proudly watched him from the sidelines. Someone nearby suddenly spoke to her. An elegantly dressed woman greeted her warmly and guessed that this was her first time visiting. After introducing themselves, the woman recognized Ho-young as the child from Shoot Dory and mentioned that everyone had been talking about him. She sat beside Ho-young's mother and casually complimented her appearance before shifting the conversation toward Ho-young. She commented that he looked even better than on TV and asked where he had learned soccer. His mother answered honestly. He had never received formal training. The woman smiled suspiciously and suggested she should just tell the truth. Again, Ho-young's mother explained that he had only played with his father. The woman continued questioning. What did his father do? Was he a soccer player? His mother replied honestly that he worked at a semiconductor company. The woman immediately became more curious. Was he the owner? No, just an assistant. The woman laughed awkwardly. Then she asked whether their family could even afford academy tuition. Ho-young's mother remained calm. She explained that her son had entered through the special student program. The woman looked shocked. Special student? His mother smiled and explained that it was essentially a scholarship. Ho-young did not need to pay tuition. The woman could not hide her dissatisfaction. Why did only her child receive special treatment? Ho-young's mother answered naturally. Because her son was good at soccer. The woman fell silent. Inside, Ho-young's mother quietly thought that having a wealthy husband might be something to boast about, but raising a talented child felt far more meaningful. Meanwhile, training continued. Ho-young fought intensely for possession. Coach Sang-won watched carefully. His skills had improved again, and it had only been 10 days. The growth speed was frightening. But Sang-won also knew something important. Growing too quickly was not always good. Many talented children had once shown brilliance equal to legends, but failed later because their technique, physical development, and understanding never matured together. Unbalanced growth could become poison. He did not want Ho-young's talent wasted. Inside S-class, Ho-young received advanced training. Top coaches taught him. He practiced ball control, dribbling, passing, stretching to prevent injuries, field positioning, and decision-making. He learned how to use shoulder contact instead of brute force, and how to gain advantage during challenges. These were things he had never properly understood before. During training, Coach Sang-won suddenly shouted. After passing the ball, Ho-young had stopped. The coach corrected him immediately. Even if he did not know where to move, he still had to move. Movement itself built habits. Then he introduced an important concept. No-ball movement, moving without possession, finding positions, predicting where passes would arrive, creating opportunities before touching the ball. Sang-won asked about Ho-young's preferred position. Forward. Ho-young answered immediately. Scoring goals was the most enjoyable thing. The coach nodded. Then movement mattered even more. Every run needed purpose. Good movement became an advantage. Unnecessary movement had to disappear. If he still struggled, he should start by copying famous players. Ho-young understood instantly. When he was younger, he had thought forwards only needed dribbling and finishing. Now he realized movement without the ball was just as important. Looking around at the field, he became more excited. This class was far more valuable than he expected, not only because of the lessons, but because of the talent surrounding him. As he watched another player, a notification appeared. Yeon Bum talent. Artistic curve kick copy condition. Win 3 out of 5 free kick matches. Soon they began competing. The ball curved beautifully into the net. After losing again, Bum grabbed his head in frustration. The others joked that beating Ho-young in free kicks was becoming impossible. Then the system appeared once more. Choose talent to copy. Artistic curve kick. Ho-young thought carefully. If he trained properly, maybe this talent could evolve into something even greater. Smiling, he thanked everyone for the match and quietly decided he needed to keep searching for even more useful talents. Behind him, Bum still refused to give up and promised he would win next time. During another practice match, children chased the ball across the field with quick footwork and constant movement. Ho Young watched carefully. After observing for a while, he concluded that Class A was not as impressive as he had expected. The real talents were in the U-13 youth league teams. Unfortunately, those facilities were strict about outsiders, so entering was impossible. He sighed. The coach's talents were either not useful to him or had difficult copy conditions. Finding active players with valuable talents would be ideal, but that felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. For now, he decided to take every opportunity available. Then he overheard a conversation nearby. Someone mentioned Coach Cha. Ho Young froze. His attention shifted toward two people standing near the goal. The moment he saw one of them, he stared. Why was that person here? It was Cha Du-ri, the famous striker. Express train. Human weapon. Iron Cha. The whirlwind forward. One of Asia's top attackers and the son of Cha Bum-kwan. Ho Young looked at him in disbelief. This was the player who had shined at the recent World Cup. Seeing him in person felt strange. He even thought that Du-ri looked better than he had imagined, and quietly felt guilty for jokes he used to make about him. Excitement filled his eyes. Maybe this was fate. Meanwhile, Coach Sang-won and Cha Du-ri continued talking. Du-ri mentioned that he would move to Leverkusen next month. Hearing that, Ho Young suddenly remembered. That was right. Cha Du-ri had received an opportunity connected to Leverkusen, the same club where Cha Bum-kwan had once played, and would soon begin a new chapter in Europe. Ho Young realized this might be his only chance. He stood behind the fence, thinking quickly. If he approached recklessly, he would gain nothing. But if he missed this opportunity, he might never get another. So he decided to act. The system activated. Information appeared above Cha Du-ri. Talent possessed. Cha Du-ri speed machine. Unique faster than a past powerful physique. B+ copy conditions. 1. Play soccer together for at least 500 minutes. 2. Do leg training together for at least 500 minutes. Ho Young stared. Unique? Because the talent carried Cha Du-ri's name. He guessed it was a special personal ability. Immediately, he made up his mind. No matter what, he wanted that talent. Nearby, Sang-won continued chatting with Du-ri. When he noticed Du-ri looked tired, he suggested taking time to rest before going abroad. Du-ri admitted that it was not physical exhaustion, but nervousness. Thinking about the future made his head feel heavy. At that moment, someone approached. Ho Young. Sang-won looked surprised. Ho Young smiled brightly and explained that he had something to give Du-ri. Du-ri lowered his cap and looked confused. Even with his face hidden, the kid still recognized him. Ho Young handed over a bottle. It was an energy drink. He awkwardly explained that he wanted to buy something better, but did not have enough money, and hoped it could at least help reduce fatigue. Du-ri looked surprised, then burst into laughter. Ho Young quietly celebrated. Good. First impression successful. Even Sang-won laughed. Then he introduced Ho Young properly. This boy would become one of the players leading Korean soccer in the future. Du-ri looked interested. If Coach Sang-won spoke that confidently, this kid must be special. Then Du-ri suddenly made an offer. Would Ho Young like to play soccer together? Ho Young almost could not believe it. Of course, this was a perfect opportunity. They started playing. The energy drink strategy seemed surprisingly effective. After a long session, Du-ri wiped his sweat and looked at Ho Young with interest. Even though Ho Young was exhausted and breathing heavily, Du-ri praised his shooting ability. It reminded him of someone. Ho Young asked who. Du-ri mentioned a child he once trained, Ki Wang. Ho Young froze. Could he mean the future player who would eventually reach the Premier League? He remembered reading stories about how Cha Bum-kwan had personally cared for that player and helped guide his development. Now, a legendary figure was standing in front of him. Later, they returned inside. Sang-won handed them water and asked how training had gone. Du-ri laughed and said it felt good and reminded him of old times. Sang-won joked that players solved everything through soccer anyway. Then he remembered something and asked whether Du-ri had not come because of Director Cha. Du-ri laughed again. Even if he returned now, his father probably would not be home. Then he asked whether Director Cha had met Ho Young yet. Not yet, but he planned to. Du-ri jokingly said that maybe his father would end up bringing Ho Young home to train personally. Then he looked at Ho Young and asked whether he truly wanted to become a soccer player. Ho Young answered immediately. Definitely. Du-ri gently patted his head and explained that someone he once knew had also started that way. Suddenly, Ho Young gathered courage. He asked Du-ri to teach him. During the break, he explained that he wanted to learn soccer directly from him. Du-ri smiled. Ho Young already had coached Sang-won. But Ho Young asked what Duri could teach differently. He wanted to become a player like him. Inside, Ho Young quietly thought this unique talent would not come easily, but he would keep trying. Duri ruffled his hair and told him not to be discouraged. With his ability, coaches would naturally support him. Then Ho Young tried another approach. Could he visit his house sometimes? Duri refused politely. He was busy, and Ho Young's parents would worry. Ho Young quietly accepted that direct approach would not work. Then Duri asked where he lived. Ho Young answered, Inyeong. Surprisingly, Duri revealed he was staying nearby with a friend. At that moment, Ho Young's mother arrived. Taking the opportunity, Duri asked for permission. He suggested training together for 1 hour each day during the month. Ho Young's mother felt grateful, but worried about troubling him. Duri simply smiled. He liked children who were passionate about soccer. His father had always brought kids home to teach before. To him, this was nothing unusual. And his house was close anyway. Ho Young could hardly believe it. This was his chance to train with Cha Du-ri. The next afternoon, as promised, Ho Young arrived to train with Cha Du-ri. When he got there, Du-ri was already warming up. Ho Young quietly watched him. Du-ri moved quickly and naturally, while Ho Young pushed himself to keep pace. Even while training, Ho Young felt slightly guilty. He knew he was receiving help and benefiting from the opportunity. Still, he had clear goals. The talents he wanted most were speed machine, faster than a pass, powerful physique training continued every day. Surprisingly, within only 1 week, Ho Young fulfilled both copy conditions. An A-level talent, and he achieved it much faster than expected. Although the speed-related receiving ability was useful, he ultimately chose acceleration. Cha Du-ri's greatest weapon was explosive speed. The moment he touched the ball and accelerated, most defenders could not react. Some people even joked that his legs moved so quickly it became difficult to maintain balance. This was a true unique talent. But unlike previous copies, the system displayed a new message. Copying time required. 30 days during this period, other talents cannot be copied. It was the first time Ho Young had seen such a restriction. It reminded him of digestion. High-level talents could not simply be absorbed instantly. Still, it did not bother him. There were no major competitions coming soon. He had time, and more importantly, he had gained something money could not buy. Connections. Step by step, he felt closer to becoming a professional player. Time passed. He kept training and continued appearing on television. By mid-November, one of Shoot Dory's former youth coaches was arrested for illegal gambling. Despite that, the program's popularity continued rising every week. Meanwhile, football overseas kept moving. In the Premier League, a 16-year-old debutante stunned the world. His name, Wayne Rooney. His famous statements spread everywhere. Remember the name. For Ho Young, moments like that only strengthened his dream of one day standing on the world stage. Then, December 11th arrived. At NFC, Ho Young felt unusually nervous. This time was different. Not only was the event being broadcast live, but scouts, reporters, and representatives from the Korean Football Association's Youth Development Department were also present. Cameras focused heavily on him. Before he entered, his father patted his shoulder. He reminded Ho Young not to be nervous. Those kids might be taller, but they could not be better than him. Ho Young confidently answered that he would win. His father smiled and wished him luck. Ho Young stepped onto the field. The commentators immediately noticed his growth. His movement had become more polished and controlled. One commentator confidently stated that rumors claiming Ho Young had simply been lucky were completely false. Another jokingly accused him of becoming friends with a future superstar. They laughed and returned to the match. Today's challenge was enormous. FC Shoot Dory against Sao Paulo FC, one of Brazil's most famous clubs and the origin of countless legends. The Brazilian team had traveled to Korea for the Youth World Cup events organized with the Football Association and MBS. Producer Choice saw this as a chance to raise the program's popularity even further. Everything depended on this match. Ho Young looked at the opposing players. Winning would not be easy. Shoot Dory had improved, but Sao Paulo was older and physically larger. Many players looked 10 to 20 centimeters taller. Then Ho Young noticed one player, Douglas Costa. At that moment, someone told Douglas that if he scored 10 goals, the coach would take him to an amusement park. Douglas became excited immediately. Ho Young quietly analyzed him. This was Brazil's next-generation star. Recently, he had scored 5 goals in only 15 minutes against a U13 team. His speed was exceptional. Then, the system appeared. Talent available to copy conditions. 1. prevent the opponent from scoring. 2. Win a speed contest. Ho-young memorized both conditions immediately. Interesting. Meanwhile, Sao Paulo's coach gave instructions. With Douglas on the field, he believed they could score endlessly. After reviewing Shoot Dory's footage, he concluded only one player really stood out, Ho-young. Still, he considered the match simple. His team gathered. He told them to treat this like warm-up before next week's important match. Score 10 goals. Show their potential. Then he called Case Moreau. Today, he would mark number 7 directly. Ho-young. Case Moreau looked annoyed. Did the coach really think he could lose to a smaller kid? The coach warned him not to underestimate opponents. If they kept a clean sheet, they could all visit the amusement park afterward. The tactical plan was simple. 8 versus 8. Small field. Use width and attack for midfield. The goalkeeper received one warning. Be careful of long-range shots. Then Case Moreau glanced at Ho-young. He looked around 15 centimeters shorter. Stopping him felt easy. The match began. FC Shoot Dory versus Sao Paulo FC. Immediately the difference became obvious. Sao Paulo moved with purpose. No wasted runs. Every pass connected into organized possession. This was world-class youth structure. The commentators explained that although Brazilian players were not as physically imposing as Europeans, their flexibility and agility were exceptional. That was why Brazilian football carried its famous identity. For Shoot Dory, this was both a challenge and a lesson. Most of their squad struggled physically. Only Ho-young looked different. Then, Douglas finally touched the ball. He accelerated instantly. Defenders disappeared behind him. He cut straight through Shoot Dory's defense. Douglas smiled. Too easy. He prepared to score the opening goal and struck hard. But suddenly, someone appeared. Ho-young sprinted back. Block. The ball bounced away toward midfield. Douglas froze. His shot had been stopped. He turned around. Only then did he realize the player who blocked him was Ho-young. Ho-young stood directly in front of Douglas. There was a trace of confidence in his expression, almost like quiet provocation. Douglas could not accept it. To him, Ho-young had simply gotten lucky. Play resumed. The score remained unchanged, but Ho-young immediately stole the ball again. The crowd erupted. Number 7 had disrupted another attack and completely shut down Douglas. Douglas became frustrated. Normally, he would have already scored twice. But now, forget goals. He could not even reach the goalkeeper. Every chance he created had been blocked by that kid. At first, he thought it was coincidence. Now he understood. Ho-young was not easy to deal with. Annoyed, Douglas chased after him and called out. Ho-young turned around. Douglas questioned him angrily. Why was a forward defending this deep? Then he muttered complaints in Portuguese. Ho-young did not understand and simply told him to speak English. After thinking briefly, Ho-young shrugged and calmly said, "Today, Douglas would not score a single goal." Douglas froze. Since he started playing soccer, this was the first time someone had humiliated him like this. And worse, he was being shut down by another forward instead of a defender. His pride took the hit immediately. He clenched his fists. No matter what the coach had said, he would not let this go. They controlled the game. And with Case Moreau in defense, he would score. Soon, Shoot Dory launched another attack. But Case Moreau intercepted cleanly. Without hesitation, he launched a long ball forward. Douglas accelerated instantly. Now there was only the goalkeeper left. He felt unstoppable. As long as he touched the ball, it was a guaranteed goal. But right before contact, someone appeared beside him. Ho-young. He stole the ball. Douglas stared in disbelief. Ho-young had stopped him again. Ho-young sighed. He honestly could not understand why a forward had to keep defending this much. But instead of discouraging Douglas, it only pushed him further. Douglas chased. He ran at full speed. Yet no matter how hard he pushed, he could not close the distance. Ho-young kept pulling farther away. Douglas slowed, then stopped completely. His jaw tightened. He kicked the grass in frustration. The commentators immediately noticed. Douglas clearly looked irritated. Meanwhile, Ho-young looked completely different today. Usually he relied on long-range shots, but now he was dribbling aggressively. Before they could finish discussing, Ho-young charged straight toward goal. At that moment, the effect of Cha Du-ri's speed machine became obvious. The acceleration was overwhelming. Ho-young became excited. If this talent was already this powerful, how terrifying would stronger players become? Then, someone blocked his path. Case Moreau. Ho-young immediately sensed it. This was not an ordinary opponent. Casemiro's talent stood out. If Ho-young wanted it, he needed to beat him and score. And Ho-young already knew who Case Moreau would become in the future. a defensive midfielder, a leader for Brazil, eventually a key player at Real Madrid. For Ho Young, this was not an obstacle. It was an opportunity. He looked at the conditions. He decided to complete both at once. Case Moreau admitted internally that Ho Young was fast, but speed alone meant nothing. Seeing Ho Young enter shooting range, he timed his challenge perfectly. The moment Ho Young swung, Case Moreau rushed, but the ball had already left. Case Moreau missed. Before he could react, Ho Young slipped past. No tricks, no fancy dribbling. He simply pushed the ball far ahead and exploded forward. Pure acceleration. Case Moreau froze. Ho Young chased the ball and broke through. Straight at goal. Sao Paulo's goalkeeper prepared himself. Ho Young struck. Goal. He exhaled and casually thought the goalkeeper reacted too slowly. The stadium erupted. Everyone praised the play. Ho Young had scored the opening goal against Sao Paulo FC. The commentators shouted in disbelief. They admitted they had underestimated Shoot Dory. Maybe the future of Korean soccer was brighter than expected. Nearby, Kim Jong-kuk watched silently. He never expected Ho Young to stop Douglas Costa, beat Case Moreau, and dominate both attack and defense. To him, Ho Young looked like the center of the entire match. Production staff became excited. Today's ratings would explode. The football craze was already growing, and this boy was becoming its face. Ho Young raised his hand and made another confident celebration. At the same time, he realized something. Cha Du-ri's talent felt unbelievable, almost unfair, but the strain on his knees was equally real. As he looked toward the crowd, people began chanting for Korea. Ho Young smiled. Maybe he had worried too much. This was still only a small stadium. It was too early to be satisfied. Today, he wanted to dominate the field. Then the system appeared again. A talent selection window opened. Without hesitation, he chose Soccer Prodigy. The acquisition completed immediately. New conditions appeared. Pass 5 players successfully. Score a hat trick. Ho Young calculated quickly. 30 minutes remained. At this pace, it was possible. His next target, the talent to steal the ball in the blink of an eye. On Sao Paulo's side, the coach quickly realized something. If this continued, Douglas might collapse mentally before future competitions. So he decided to substitute him. Unexpectedly, Douglas immediately insisted he was fine and could still perform. But the coach refused. If he was not feeling right, he should rest and use this time to reflect. Today had given him something valuable to learn. Douglas reacted badly. He argued that there was nothing worth learning from Asian players and confidently declared that he was Brazilian and would become a future superstar. Those words instantly changed the coach's expression. Calmly but firmly, he told Douglas that if he were the referee, comments like that deserved punishment. Talent meant nothing without respect. A player needed to recognize others objectively and learn from what happened on the field. Douglas fell silent. He looked back toward the match. Ho Young continued dominating the second half with explosive acceleration. Even Sao Paulo struggled to contain him. Again and again they tried to stop him and failed. Douglas could not understand it. How could someone younger move like that? The coach suddenly reminded him. He had already turned 12. He was no longer the youngest. Then he brought up Ronaldo, who debuted professionally at only 14. The meaning was clear. Talent existed everywhere. If Douglas stayed arrogant, fans would eventually turn away. Douglas lowered his head and apologized. At the same time, the coach admitted something privately. He had trained countless young players, but Ho Young felt different. Strong stamina, unexpected physical strength, unbelievable dribbling speed. Where had this kid even come from? Meanwhile, Sao Paulo finally broke through. The ball blasted into Shoot Dory's net. The commentators reacted excitedly. Maybe they had finally adapted to the weather and conditions. They encouraged Sao Paulo to show their real level. On the field, Ho Young was becoming exhausted. Soccer could not be won alone. Still, if Shoot Dory managed to defeat Sao Paulo, the impact would be enormous. So he kept pushing. He wanted to try a little longer. He still believed. Eventually, the match ended. Sao Paulo won 9-4. Their coach sighed in relief. At least some pride had been preserved. This match was originally meant to build momentum before the youth tournament. Yet somehow things had become far more difficult than expected. Douglas stared at Ho Young. Meanwhile, Ho Young quietly thought that this trip had brought more benefits than expected. Nearby, the coaches continued talking. That kid definitely had potential. Another coach agreed. Ho Young reminded him of certain talented players from years ago. But what impressed him most was the acceleration. His normal speed was not extraordinary, but the moment he accelerated, everything changed. If his technical growth continued, he would absolutely become a star. The coach nodded. His fundamentals still needed development, but he was intelligent, quick, and most importantly, he genuinely enjoyed soccer. Whether he became a shining genius, an ordinary genius, or simply a brief spark, time would answer. In the stands, Ho Young's father smiled proudly and told his wife that even though they lost, the match had been incredible. At that moment, someone greeted them in Spanish. It was Carlos, Sao Paulo's coach. Ho Young's mother answered naturally. Carlos became pleasantly surprised and discovered she had been born in Spain, which meant they could speak without an interpreter. After introducing himself, he politely asked for a few minutes. Then he asked directly, had Ho Young joined any youth club? Soccer had no borders. To him, Ho Young looked like an unpolished diamond. He wanted to invite him to train at Sao Paulo's academy. At the same time, Ho Young remained on the field. He was still deciding which talent to copy. Casemiro's abilities focused heavily on defense. Douglas's talent created another problem. Ho Young already possessed soccer prodigy B+. Copying similar abilities again might not help. After thinking carefully, he chose agile feet. He already had speed machine, which allowed explosive acceleration while carrying the ball. But receiving passes still forced him to slow down. Overusing speed also put too much pressure on his knees. Agile feet would solve that. Many players had technique. Very few had elite speed, and no ball movement was essential for professionals. Decision made. He selected the talent. Another A-level ability was added. Instantly, his legs felt lighter and more responsive. It almost felt unfair. If this continued, would he become a player unlike anything before? Then the system appeared again. Copy completion time. 7 days, no additional talents can be copied during this period. Compared to Cha Du-Ri's 30-day process, this felt manageable. He decided to use the week to improve what he already had. Soon afterward, a reporter approached for an interview. After all, he had scored a hat trick. The interviewer asked whether he seemed happier now. Ho Young admitted he was disappointed to lose, but he felt fine. The interviewer wondered whether that meant he had accepted defeat. Ho Young explained that winning and losing mattered, but today his biggest goal had been proving something. He wanted to show that he could score against foreign teams too. Some people had doubted him. The interviewer laughed and suggested he should thank those critics. Ho Young smiled. Even people who hated him still paid attention. The interview aired live. Watching from nearby, Kim Jong-kuk laughed proudly. That kid was unexpectedly funny. Today's ratings would definitely explode. Later, Ho Young's family celebrated together. Then they shared the news. Sao Paulo wanted him. His eyes immediately lit up. His mother carefully explained reality. Even if they were interested, he would still need to join the academy and be evaluated properly. FIFA rules would not allow official international transfer contracts at his age. Ho Young understood. Because he was too young, he could not simply move abroad alone. Those rules existed to protect young players. There were exceptions, but he did not qualify. Officially, reaching Sao Paulo was almost impossible. Still, inside, Ho Young thought differently. If the club had already approached them, they probably had ideas prepared. Then another thought appeared. If Sao Paulo truly wanted him, why had Coach Carlos left without speaking to him directly? His mother explained that there had been too many reporters after the match. Everyone's attention was focused on Ho Young, so Coach Carlos only had time to briefly speak with his parents. Ho Young became curious and immediately asked what they told him. His father answered casually. Of course he rejected the offer. Ho Young froze. For a second, it felt like his future had collapsed. His father even joked that there was no way he would send his 10-year-old son overseas. Seeing Ho Young's expression, he quickly laughed and admitted he was joking. He could not even speak Spanish. His mother handled the conversation. Ho Young immediately turned toward her. What did she say? She smiled and answered simply. As long as her son was happy, she was willing to support him. Ho Young instantly became excited. Brazil, a country filled with soccer superstars. He could hardly believe he might have the chance to train there. And for him, it was more than study abroad. South America meant countless opportunities to encounter talented young players. If he eventually earned a youth contract, he could even make money through soccer. His mother reminded him that there were Korean players there, but he would still need to learn foreign languages. After all, Brazil spoke Portuguese. Ho Young immediately decided to start learning. If he kept working hard, he believed everything was possible. That night, after returning home, Ho Young thought carefully. Even if he received the opportunity, he still had to wait until the youth competition ended. What should he do until then? Then he remembered Chongquan FC would also participate. 16 teams. A true youth football festival. To Ho Young, it looked more like a buffet of talents. The NBC Youth World Competition would begin on the 18th. Player registration closed on the 16th. Only 5 days remained. He still had time. The problem was his knees hurt badly. After pushing himself so hard lately, he needed to be careful. Skill alone meant nothing if his body could not support it. Even Ronaldo suffered repeated injuries because of the stress his style placed on his legs. Preventing injuries was just as important as improving ability. At that moment, his mother quietly entered his room. She asked whether his leg hurt. Ho Young forced a smile and joked that maybe he was simply growing taller. His mother said nothing. She gently touched his knee and told him something simple. If he ever became too tired, he could stop any time. More than soccer, she wanted him to stay healthy. Those words warmed him. As she carefully massaged his knee, Ho Young quietly wished for his parents to stay healthy too. Later that night, he checked again. The swelling had gone down. He smiled and praised her massage. His leg felt much better. Elsewhere, footage of Ho Young's match played on a screen. 2 men discussed him. One pointed out that registration closed in only a week, making it complicated to add another player. But with Ho Young's ability, maybe it was possible. Then he asked for an opinion. The person beside him, director Cha Bum-kwon, another legend of Korean football. Cha Bum-kwon quietly watched and said Ho Young reminded him of Du Ri when he was young. The assistant asked what he meant. Cha explained. Both of them ran without hesitation. But Ho Young also played intelligently. He looked like someone with a bright future. When asked what he planned to do, Cha answered directly. He wanted to meet the boy himself. He had intended it earlier, but had been too busy. After hearing the next training schedule was tomorrow afternoon, he immediately ordered a separate meeting for the next morning at Sao Paulo's training facility. The next day, Ho Young and his mother arrived. Cha Bum-kwon greeted them warmly. Ho Young stared in disbelief. The legend himself stood right in front of him. Excited, he introduced himself immediately. Cha Bum-kwon gently placed a hand on his head and praised him as the young goal scorer. Ho Young smiled and returned the compliment. To him, Cha Bum-kwon was the truly legendary scorer. That answer made Cha laugh. This junior was interesting. They moved into a meeting room. Cha explained his idea. Ho Young would take a simple evaluation test. Depending on the result, he could earn a chance to participate in the competition. Of course, both Ho Young and his mother had to agree. Looking at Ho Young's expression, the answer was obvious. He accepted immediately. His mother also agreed. As long as her son was happy, she would support him. Ho Young became excited. This was his chance to enter the World Youth Competition. Now he just needed a pass. Soon after, he tied his shoelaces and stepped onto the field. His eyes widened. This was the U-13 team. He looked around excitedly until someone immediately caught his attention. One player looked enormous. Ho Young estimated he was over 170 centimeters tall. Curious, he activated his ability. Haidong Chun talent. Soccer prodigy C++, physical development, potential B+, decisive header B. Ho Young stared. Those talents looked extremely attractive. Still, he remembered the explanation. This test would be a standard 11 versus 11 match. That made him nervous. Soon the teams lined up. The game started. Players moved into position. Ho Young quickly analyzed the formation. 4-4-2, 2 forwards. His role, center forward. Breakthrough at the right moment. Score. Players in that position focused heavily on finishing. Originally, he thought this would let him shine. Reality was different. He signaled repeatedly. Asked for passes. Called for the ball. Nothing. His teammates ignored him. Ho Young frowned. Was this the classic treatment for newcomers? Fine. If nobody passed, he would do himself. Soon, one teammate became trapped under pressure. Then, someone noticed. Ho Young was completely open. He shouted for the pass. Everyone looked surprised. Outside the field, Cha Bum-kwon laughed. The coach admitted this setup had been intentional. Without teammates' trust, players eventually had to show individual ability. Cha said he had experienced the same thing in Germany. Then he quietly added, the happiest moment in football was holding the ball yourself. Even if it was stolen, that feeling was part of what made soccer attractive. Looking at Ho Young, he realized the boy was starting to understand that. Then suddenly, Ho Young charged in. He fought for possession with his own teammate. The teammate protested, but Ho Young took the ball cleanly. And with complete confidence, he even praised the pass. Ho Young made up his mind. If his teammates did not see him as part of the team, Then he would force them to acknowledge him through performance. He activated his acceleration talent. Immediately, he broke through the defense. The players around him froze. His speed looked completely different from before. Nobody could keep up. Ho-young kept advancing without hesitation. He wanted to show them the hunger of a true striker. The opposing team reacted quickly and surrounded him. But unexpectedly, instead of dribbling through everyone, Ho-young lifted the ball forward. A precise pass. It flew toward Hai Dong-chun. Ho-young shouted for him to attack it. Dong-chun responded instantly. Using his height and power, he smashed in a header. Goal. At that moment, Ho-young received new information. To copy Dong-chun's talent, he needed to assist more than 15 goals in official or unofficial matches and play together for over 250 minutes in official games. Ho-young quietly smiled. One assist completed. At this point, he looked more like the embodiment of greed. One of his goals in this life was simple: grow past 180 centimeters. Hai Dong-chun. Any fan of Korean football would recognize that name. A future prodigy nicknamed Korea's Ibrahimovic. Dong-chun happily praised the pass. With Korean players rarely reaching extreme height naturally, being over 190 centimeters already felt like talent. That made physical development potential B+ extremely valuable. Ho-young wanted it. The conditions were difficult because it was an innate talent, but he believed he could finish them. Play continued. Ho-young assisted again. Another powerful header. Another goal. Their coordination became smooth and natural. It looked like they had played together for years. After the match, Cha Bum-kwan talked with Ho-young. 1 goal, 3 assists. Then he asked whether Ho-young enjoyed assisting more than scoring. Ho-young answered honestly. No, scoring was still more fun. Cha became curious. Then why keep feeding Dong-chun? Ho-young explained simply. He wanted the others to accept him more naturally. Cha smiled. Thinking about teammates was not a bad quality. Then he made a decision. From now on, Ho-young would officially train with the team. The coach would discuss details later with his mother. Ho-young happily agreed. At that moment, he quietly checked Cha Bum-kwan's talents. Talent possessed, legendary thighs, rank L leader through experience, rank B eye for talent, rank B complete tactical understanding, rank B copy conditions, score 30 goals from 30 meters or farther. Reach the semifinals in an official FIFA competition. Ho-young's greed awakened instantly. Cha noticed him staring. Ho-young quickly fixed his expression. He had revealed too much excitement. Rank L, this was the first time he had seen something like that. Cha Bum-kwan's legendary thighs were famous. Massive power, elite stamina, explosive speed. Even Cha Du-ri could not match him physically. Legend level truly felt different. The conditions looked nearly impossible, almost as if the system was warning him not to desire it. Then Cha changed the topic. Had Sao Paulo made an offer? Had they invited him abroad? Ho-young admitted they had. Cha asked whether he had decided. Ho-young answered immediately. He wanted to go. Cha smiled with satisfaction. It was the right decision. Anyone who wanted to become great had to endure difficulty. Training abroad would help his talent bloom sooner. Ho-young thanked him sincerely. Cha encouraged him to keep working and told him to ask for help whenever needed. From that day forward, Ho-young actively joined team training and focused on building trust. At the same time, he continued feeding Hai Dong-chun goals. Because of this, his position shifted from center forward to support striker. The coach explained that support strikers helped create chances, supported the main forward, and could also score themselves. That role required both striker and midfielder abilities, dribbling, passing, and finishing. The coach encouraged Ho-young to attack more, but reminded him not to pressure himself. Play confidently. Ho-young smiled and agreed. Time passed. Eventually, the day before the tournament arrived. Training continued. Ho-young passed. Dong-chun headed. Goal. Again and again. Their chemistry became excellent. The coach secretly evaluated the pairing. The tactical setup looked nearly complete. With this combination, reaching the quarterfinals seemed realistic. Their group contained strong opponents: the Swedish youth club team, Poland U13, and Portuguese powerhouse Porto. Even in the worst case, they should stay competitive. Training ended. The coach praised everyone and told them to stretch and rest. Ho-young counted quietly. The assist condition was complete. Only one requirement remained. Each game lasted 50 minutes. That meant they needed to reach at least the quarterfinals. Ho-young nodded to himself. He would make it happen. Finally, the The World Youth Football Competition, co-hosted by the Korean Football Association and MBS, officially began. Commentators introduced the event and explained that public attention was extremely high because it followed shortly after the 2002 World Cup. Players entered the field. Today's opening match, FC Chom versus Poland U13. Ho-young looked around. Natural grass. International atmosphere. Even with few spectators, he finally felt like a real player. Then a thought crossed his mind. If Poland's future legendary striker had been born slightly earlier, they might have met here. He imagined facing one of the world's future great forwards. For a moment, he felt disappointed, but he quickly recovered. Meeting legends could wait. Winning came first. His eyes sharpened. The match officially began. Commentators analyzed the situation and admitted it would be difficult, but they still believed FC Chom could win. Because now, there was one unpredictable variable on the field. Ho-young. The lineups appeared on screen. FC Chom lined up in a 4-4-2 formation, a setup designed to pressure the entire field. Their opponent, Poland U13, used a 4-2-3-1 formation, maximizing their physical advantages. The crowd cheered as the match began. Poland immediately controlled the center. Jairus received the ball and exchanged quick passes with his teammates. The commentators noted that with 5 midfielders controlling possession, Poland was dominating the midfield. Then Jairus saw an opening. He launched a deep through pass. FC Chom reacted too late. The commentators immediately realized the danger. One pass had broken the entire defense. Poland's attacker sprinted forward. It was Jarzwat Kaczynski. As he chased the ball, he calmly calculated that once he controlled it, nobody would stop him. He stretched his foot out confidently, but Ho-young suddenly appeared. He blocked the play. Jarzwat frowned. Number 7 again. Why was a forward defending here? Without hesitation, Ho-young cleared the ball. FC Chom transitioned into attack instantly. Advance. At that moment, Poland's number 6 stepped in front of Ho-young and tried to cut him off. But Ho-young slipped away. His movement without the ball was so smooth that even the defender turned around in surprise. A teammate spotted the run and passed. Ho-young controlled it cleanly. Nice pass. He accelerated into the opponent's half. The defense collapsed backward. Players rushed to stop him, but his figure disappeared through the gaps. He cut through them like a beast. Even the defenders froze. Monster. Ho-young reached the box. The goalkeeper rushed out. Ho-young accelerated again, pushed the ball around him, and finished. Goal. The crowd exploded. Only 7 minutes into the first half, FC Chom had scored first. Ho-young. Teammates rushed over and celebrated. Some laughed and pointed at the stunned faces of the opposition. Ho-young smiled too, but secretly felt dissatisfied. He wanted to score something cleaner. His legs were too fast now. Controlling them had become difficult. Gain one thing, lose another. The commentators praised him immediately. A 60-meter acceleration into a goal. Unbelievable. Someone even joked that Ho-young could become a track athlete. His future looked limitless. The Polish coach stared and asked whether the kid was really 9 years old. After watching again, he muttered that this no longer felt like soccer. It felt like bringing a cannon into a normal fight. Play resumed. One FC Chom player became trapped under pressure and looked ready to lose possession. Ho-young immediately called for the ball. The pass came. He received it and quickly scanned the field. No space. Then he shouted, "Run." Everyone hesitated. Commentators analyzed the play. Ho-young was directing movement. His teammate understood immediately. Ho-young broke free of his marker and slipped the ball through the defender's legs. Perfect. Exactly as expected. The commentators reacted instantly. Ho-young escaped. His teammate moved into position and called for the pass. A high cross would have created a perfect assist. Ho-young looked, smiled, then ignored the option. He attacked himself. A sudden mid-range strike. The goalkeeper reacted too late. Goal! Everyone erupted. Instead of passing, he slowed the tempo, manipulated the defenders, opened a shooting lane, and finished. It was extremely intelligent play. Ho-young quietly celebrated. The style he imagined in his head actually worked. He sprinted away, raised both hands. For a moment, he wondered whether players like Messi and Ronaldo felt like this. He celebrated with confidence. Then, a system message appeared. Powerful mid-range shot upgraded. Ho-young smiled. His talents were evolving. Then another thought appeared. If he continued improving Speed Machine, could he surpass the original owner? The possibility excited him. Still, He reminded himself not to overload his knees. He wanted to play soccer for a long time. Just running on grass already made him happy. Then he made another decision. Hat trick. The commentators announced his second goal. Poland began collapsing mentally. The players stared at him in disbelief. Some looked at him as if he were dominating the entire field alone. Then someone called his name. Suk-Hyeong-jun ran over and complained that Ho-young had not passed him. Inside, Ho-young already knew the reason. The assist condition was complete. There was no need anymore. But outwardly he smiled. Winning came first. His teammate accepted the answer. Ho-young encouraged him and promised another chance later. Time continued. Only 13 minutes remained. Ho-young received the ball again. Another shot. Another goal. Hat trick. The stadium exploded. The commentators could barely hide their excitement. Ho-young had completed a hat trick. People began wondering, could he become the tournament's top scorer? Meanwhile, another FC Chom player looked ahead nervously. Since the hat trick, 3 Polish defenders had started marking only Ho-young. Then a long pass was launched into the opponent's half. Ho-young looked at the situation and thought, what if they tried it like this? Immediately, he disappeared from the tight marking of 3 defenders. Accelerating forward, he chased the ball and reached it first. After controlling it, he looked up. The defenders were already closing in. The pass had gone too deep. One defender had nearly caught him. Not good. What now? Then someone called out. It was Suk-Hyeong-jun. He was signaling for the pass. Without hesitation, Ho-young crossed it over. Receive it. Suk-Hyeong-jun fixed his eyes on the ball and attacked it with a header. Goal. The crowd erupted. The commentators praised the intensity of the match. FC Chom had scored their 4th goal. Suk-Hyeong-jun celebrated happily. From the field, Ho-young noticed Jun glance toward the stands. His mother was watching. Ho-young understood immediately. Jun wanted that goal for her. Ho-young looked toward his own family. His mother smiled and gave him a thumbs up. He returned the gesture. Jun ran over, patted his shoulder, and thanked him for the assist. Ho-young smiled and reminded him, soccer was always a team game. Life could be lonely, but football had to be played together. Later, Ho-young was selected for post-match interviews. Today's MVP, 3 goals and 1 assist. When asked how he felt, he answered that the victory belonged to everyone because the team worked together. The reporter praised the maturity of the response and asked whether he had anything else to say. Ho-young proudly declared his love for his parents and promised everyone that he would become the best soccer player in the world. After returning home, he watched the interview replay. The moment it ended, he immediately turned off the TV, hugged a pillow, and rolled around in embarrassment. Why did he say something like that? It felt unbearable. He was not even at the rebellious age. Meanwhile, online discussions exploded. A post from an anonymous soccer player admitted they could not score against Ho-young and had become his fan. The post spread quickly. His fan base started growing. The next day, FC Chom faced the Swedish youth club Dörfers. After a fierce match, they won 3-2. Then came FC Porto, the championship favorite. The game was difficult, but Ho-young's goal helped FC Chom secure a dramatic draw. Again, Suk-Hyeong-jun scored with a header. Quarterfinal. Their opponent, Paraguay U13. Ho-young and Suk-Hyeong-jun both scored twice and led the team to victory. After the match, the entire team gathered together. They had reached the semifinals. Their next opponent, Japan U13. The winner would play at Sangam Stadium in Seoul. The players formed a circle and shouted together they would win. Soon both teams entered the field. Ceremony complete. The semi-final began. FC Chom versus Japan U13. For Ho-young, this match could not be lost. His eyes landed on Japan's core player, Shinji Kagawa. At that moment, golden light appeared. Talent detected. Shinji Kagawa's soccer prodigy, B delicate touch, C plus no ball space movement, C copy conditions. 1. Win the match. 2. Steal the ball 5 times. Ho-young almost froze. Steal the ball 5 times? He was a striker, not a defender. If that was the case, he would have to change his style. Freestyle play, constant movement, flexible positioning. He casually called out to Shinji. Shinji turned. Ho-young smiled and warned him today would not be easy. Shinji stared blankly. Ho-young simply walked away. Freestyle football meant abandoning fixed positions and adapting constantly. It required judgment and quick decisions. Ho-young stopped, then decided, let's try it. He looked at Kagawa again. Do not disappoint me. The match started. 7 minutes into the first half, Japan gradually took control. The ball moved through Kagawa. He received a pass. Then someone warned him. Behind you. Kagawa turned. Ho Yong was already chasing. Sweat fell as he closed in. Kagawa stayed calm. Fast. But why was a striker pressing this deep? Still, this was a battle of skill. He accelerated. No way would he lose the ball. Even the coach questioned Ho Yong's positioning. Then suddenly, Ho Yong stole it. Cleanly. Kagawa froze. Even the coach looked shocked. Since when was he this good defensively? The crowd exploded. Counterattack. Ho Yong became excited. Casemiro's instant steal talent was far more useful than expected. Kagawa stared. His ball had just been stolen by a striker, not a defender. The humiliation hit hard. He immediately chased back, but could not recover possession. Why? Why could he not take it back? Ho Yong checked the conditions. Done. Condition 2 completed. Now, only victory remained. Satisfied, Ho Yong switched back to attack. He planted his foot, accelerated, and exploded forward. He moved like a speeding car. The defenders could barely react. Even Japan's coach shouted instructions. Do not let number 7 advance. Watch his mid-range shots. Raise the defensive line. Ho Yong scanned the field. A teammate appeared nearby. Wall pass. The defenders expected a normal pass. His teammate received it cleanly. Ho Yong shouted for the return. Park Won-gu returned it immediately, opening space behind the defense. Ho Yong burst forward into the empty area. Ho Yong prepared to shoot. Then he noticed a teammate running beside him. Even so, he chose to finish himself. He struck the ball hard. The shot slammed into the crossbar. The crowd groaned. What a waste. But Ho Yong did not react. This had been calculated. That was the chance. The rebound dropped perfectly. Suk Haeong-jun rose and attacked it with a powerful header. Goal. A spectacular header gave Korea the lead. Ho Yong immediately praised him. Jun smiled proudly. After that, the match becomes completely one-sided, leaving Japan with no choice but to defend until the final whistle. As the game ends, the commentators announce FC Cha-Bum's 3-0 victory, highlighting Ho Yong's outstanding second half, where he scores 1 goal and provides 1 assist. They also praise his performance for showcasing not only his attacking ability, but his excellent defensive skills as well. After the match, Ho Yong and his teammates gathered to celebrate reaching the finals. Smiling confidently, Ho Yong reminds everyone that they are now just 1 win away from becoming champions. Attention then shifts to the next semifinal between Germany's VfB Spengalt and Brazil's Sao Paulo FC. The winner will face FC Cha-Bum in the finals. However, the match ends in a dominant 4-0 victory for Germany. As Ho Yong leaves the stadium, he reflects on the match. He is disappointed that Sao Paulo FC couldn't put up much of a fight despite being considered one of the strongest title contenders. He is also surprised by Germany's players, many of whom are over 170 centimeters tall and look more like high school students than middle schoolers. With physiques like theirs, he feels even he would struggle to match their speed. Although reaching the finals is a great achievement, defeating Germany seems like an enormous challenge. While reviewing his status panel, Ho Yong realizes he obtained Kagawa's talent during the Japan match, making it his 8th talent. He also concludes that running alongside Suk Haeong-jun for about 20 minutes in the finals will allow him to acquire the expanded growth plate. Until then, he decides to rely on the talents he already possesses. At that moment, Kagawa approaches him from behind. Recognizing him, Ho Yong turns around as Kagawa extends his hand and expresses his determination to win next time in Japanese. Although Ho Yong cannot understand what he says, he shakes his hand with an awkward smile, compliments his performance, and says goodbye. As they part, Ho Yong assumes Kagawa was probably praising his skills, since he has no idea what was actually said. The next day, Sangam Stadium. The crowd loudly cheered Ho Yong. Both teams entered. Final match. VfB Stuttgart versus FC Cham. Ho Yong looked across the field. Most of the German players were already unusually tall, but one stood out even more. Batshedver, a future defensive prospect for Germany whose weakness would eventually become injuries. Ho Yong checked his talents. Soccer prodigy, be excellent defensive positioning, be effective blocking, see copy conditions. When the match score 1 goal and make 1 assist, Ho Yong stared. Nothing extraordinary, but his size was terrifying. Standing in front of him felt like an ant facing a giraffe. The match began. Then goal. Only 15 minutes into the first half, Stuttgart took the lead. Ho Yong felt pressure immediately. The entire team was being pressed. This was targeted directly at him. Constant pressure. No space. But Ho Yong refused to give up. He promised himself he would still score. The game continued. Another header. Goal. Soon another. 3-0. The physical gap was overwhelming. The commentators admitted that skill alone could not erase a 20-centimeter difference. Still, they believed this experience would help FC Chom grow. Ho Young accelerated through the middle. Could he still shine? Batshadver stepped forward. Ho Young told him to move. The two collided. Batshadver was thrown backward. Ho Young also crashed onto the field. The whistle sounded. Ho Young immediately worried about a card, but the referee raised red. Batshadver was sent off. Ho Young let out a breath. A direct free kick. Opportunity. He stood over the ball. He had a score. Then he decided, let's use it. He began his run-up. The goalkeeper prepared. The ball flew. It curved over the wall. The goalkeeper reached, almost touched it, but missed. Goal. The crowd exploded. Ho Young jumped and celebrated. This was the artistic curve kick talent copied from an S-class student at Chom Academy. His first time using it in competition, and it worked perfectly. The match eventually ended. VfB Stuttgart won 3-1. Ho Young lay exhausted. His first defeat in an official tournament. But he smiled. He had learned a lot. Next time he would win. The tournament ended. VfB Stuttgart became champions. FC Chom finished runner-up. Even so, Ho Young finished with 10 goals and 5 assists. Top scorer. Golden shoe. Prize money. Then another reward appeared. Choose a talent. Potential for physical development. Decisive header. Ho Young selected potential for physical development. His talent list expanded. Soccer prodigy, perfect muscle, powerful mid-range, shot machine feet, instant ball steal, artistic curve, kick potential for physical development, 9 talents. People rushed over. Teammates surrounded him. Everyone congratulated him. Cheers filled the field. Top scorer. They promised to keep supporting him. His teammates looked at Ho Young in amazement. Was that really his fan club? Everyone admired him. Ho Young suddenly felt his eyes sting. The support and affection from everyone quietly reached him. To answer those feelings, he shouted with determination, next time, he would win. Inside, he made another promise. This was only the beginning. He would become the best soccer player in the world and win every title. Soon after, his family boarded the plane. Ho Young excitedly shouted for them to go. The driver misunderstood and awkwardly explained that the traffic light was red and rushing forward would only get them stopped by the police. Ho Young laughed and suddenly asked, when people think about soccer, what country comes to mind first? The driver answered naturally, Brazil. Ho Young smiled. Everyone thought the same. January 6th, Sao Paulo, Brazil. His family finally arrived. The heat immediately surprised them. Back in Korea, it was still winter. 2 people greeted them at the airport. One was Maria Choi, the oldest resident at the boarding house where Ho Young would stay. The other was Lucas Kim, international support staff from the club. Lucas bent down and greeted Ho Young warmly. He said he had seen him on TV many times, but in person he looked even younger. Together, Lucas and Maria welcomed the family. Ho Young thanked them and admitted he was excited. They traveled to Vitoria. Lucas explained that the medical examination would take place in 2 days, and until then everyone should rest. Maria guided them around the house. Ho Young's room was on the 2nd floor. As they walked upstairs, a blonde girl with fair skin came down. She quietly greeted them. Ho Young froze. She seemed much older than him. Maria introduced her. Her name was Monica. She lived next door, and she was the same age. Ho Young became speechless. 10 years old, he thought she looked like a high school student. They continued upstairs. The room was spacious and comfortable. Ho Young happily said it looked great. 2 days later, Lucas prepared Ho Young for the medical examination. The results would determine which team he joined. He reassured him that it was simply a physical evaluation. Then Lucas politely asked Ho Young's parents about their heights. His mother was 168 centimeters. His father was 166 centimeters. Lucas explained that growth potential and genetics were important parts of the assessment, but even if results were average, the club had growth support programs. Soon his phone rang. Lucas answered. His expression suddenly changed. Excellent results. The parents became nervous. The report predicted Ho Young's future height could reach somewhere between 182 and 189 centimeters. Everyone became excited. Ho Young immediately remembered. This was thanks to Suk Haeong Jun's growth talent. Someday he would repay him. Lucas then explained the future schedule. The academy, youth registration, and FIFA Article 19 regulations. Ho Young summarized it simply. He only needed to focus on soccer. Lucas agreed. Problems would be solved later. After all, Brazil was not his final destination. Ho Young silently agreed. There were still many clubs he wanted to experience. Remaining in one place forever would be boring. Lucas continued. Player registration would happen in August. Until then, Ho Young would complete academy training and personal evaluations. Medical results and overall performance would determine his GPA score. Passing required at least 6.5 out of 10. Otherwise, he would continue training and wait for another opportunity. Lucas smiled. Since they had already come this far, there was no turning back. Ho Young confidently agreed. Then Lucas casually reminded him, do not forget Portuguese. There would also be a language test. The words hit Ho Young like lightning. Portuguese? After finishing arrangements, his parents prepared to leave. His mother told him to contact them often. Ho Young acted mature and reassured her. His parents laughed and wondered where he learned to speak like that. His father encouraged him. His mother hugged him tightly and reminded him not to keep difficulties to himself. She loved him. Ho Young quietly answered he loved her too. From that day forward, he made a strict plan. No wasting time. First, learn Portuguese. Next month, he would enter elementary school. Fortunately, his mother spoke Spanish, and both languages shared similarities. With Maria's help and support from foreign children nearby, his language skills improved quickly. From morning until afternoon, he trained at the U9 Academy. For now, the program focused only on strengthening fundamentals before official registration. Communication was difficult sometimes, but physical training spoke its own language. When evening came, Ho Young returned to the boarding house. He wanted to play soccer outside, but security here was not as good as Korea. For a moment, he even missed drinking beer, then remembered he was 10 years old again. He recalled Suk Hyung Jun's encouragement. Maybe making friends would improve communication. Originally, he liked meeting people, so he decided to try immediately. He stepped outside. The first person he met was Monica. They stared awkwardly. Then Monica smiled first and greeted him. Ho Young became nervous. He greeted her back. Her appearance caught him off guard. Panicking, he asked whether she spoke Korean. Monica looked confused. Ho Young scratched his head. Right. That question made no sense. This era did not even have the image of Korean pop culture spreading overseas yet. Monica looked at him and asked whether he spoke English. Ho Young awkwardly admitted that he only knew a little. He asked about Russian, then quickly gave up on that idea and switched to Spanish. That finally worked. His mother had lived in Spain before. The two entered Monica's room and continued talking. Monica explained that her father was Brazilian, her mother was Russian-American, and her grandmother was Spanish. Even her name came from her grandmother. Ho Young found it interesting. He quietly wondered how many languages she could speak. Monica counted them one by one: Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and English, although she admitted she was not perfectly fluent in all of them. Ho Young could not hide his admiration. She really looked like a genius. Her talents appeared before him: physical genius, language prodigy, balanced body, flexible and agile body, language talent. Ho Young quietly thought that these were all useful abilities. Maria also had language-related talent, but Monica lived next door, so there was no need to rush. He could gradually meet the conditions later. Curious, he asked whether she played sports. Monica explained that she trained in rhythmic gymnastics. Ho Young became surprised. With Russian roots, he expected something different, but Monica explained that she originally wanted to live in Rio with her family and only started gymnastics later. Her teacher said she had talent and promised opportunities to study abroad in Spain if she performed well. Ho Young sincerely praised her. Monica laughed. Compared with other boys, she thought he was unusually interesting. The two decided to become friends. Time moved quickly. Ho Young continued studying and training without slowing down. February arrived and the new semester began. He transferred to an elementary school about 10 minutes away from the boarding house. Thanks to his cheerful personality, he adapted quickly. Occasionally, there were children who used discriminatory remarks, but most problems disappeared once a soccer ball appeared. Brazil was still a country where soccer solved many things. His technique quickly attracted attention. Local children naturally gathered around him. Evenings became language study sessions with Monica. Those days became the busiest period of his life. But whenever he thought about his family and future, he continued. 2 months later, in April, Ho Young reviewed his progress. He already possessed 11 talents. His communication still was not perfect, but in exchange, he gained 2 additional talents. For now, he decided to focus on developing what he already had. At that moment, Maria rushed into the room and called him. Ho Young became nervous. Maria looked worried and asked about his Portuguese test. Then she smiled. He passed. His result reached Brazilian elementary school level. Everyone celebrated and congratulated him. Now only one thing remained: earning a contract with Sao Paulo FC's youth team. Thursday, April 3, 2003. Ho Young sat nervously in the office. The youth team manager, Bianca, adjusted her glasses and thanked him for all his hard work. Then she congratulated him. His eyes immediately brightened. Bianca pushed the evaluation file toward him. After 88 days, his GPA score was 9.13. His Portuguese score lowered the average slightly, but for a soccer player, it was still outstanding. His match evaluation covered 24 games, 26 goals, 6 assists. Score, 9.33. Medical evaluations covering lung capacity, strength, and balance scored 9.35. Bianca praised his results. Because his average exceeded 9, he qualified for the highest contract rank. Ho Young smiled like a child receiving a reward. Bianca explained that these terms matched his ability. She acknowledged the difficulty of adapting without language skills and appreciated that he never gave up. Coach Carlo was also satisfied. Ho Young clenched his fist. He succeeded. He quickly calculated the numbers. 400 reais weekly, around 1,000,001 monthly. Nothing compared to Ronaldo's early income, but still far beyond his previous life's part-time work. There would also be appearance and scoring bonuses. Bianca added that promotion to a higher team would increase his salary further. Ho Young asked which team he would join. She answered the U13 team. After official registration, weekly matches and salary payments would begin. Ho Young immediately remembered. This was the same Sao Paulo U13 team he once faced during Shoot Dory. April 4th. Early morning. Ho Young trained while dribbling. The academy and youth team were completely different worlds. Now soccer was not just for himself. He had responsibilities to the team. He stopped the ball and lightly slapped his cheeks. There was no point worrying. He only needed to keep doing his best. At that moment, Monica called him from the house. Maria was calling him inside to eat. He agreed. After breakfast, he and Maria stepped outside. A luxury car waited in front. Monica waved and cheered him on. Ho Young turned slightly red and placed a hand on his chest before promising himself he would do well. Inside the car, Maria asked whether he had contacted his parents. He said yes. She asked whether they would come watch his matches. Ho Young smiled and said they were busy. Instead, he would visit them later with a championship trophy. Maria laughed and promised to support him. Ho Young quietly organized his goals. Win a U13 championship, skip directly to U15, and collect the talents of Brazil's future stars. At that moment, the system board appeared. During the last 3 months, he had discovered something. Older players rarely possessed soccer prodigy talent. That talent seemed tied to growth speed during youth. If that was true, then upgrading soccer prodigy had become his highest priority. But finding a talent above B+ was difficult. Maybe he would find one inside the U13 team. Ho Young stepped out of the car and stared at the enormous training facility in surprise. He entered the indoor education center, where classrooms, a mini soccer field for small matches, an indoor training area, and a gym were all connected. A woman approached and introduced herself. She was Emily, the advisor of Sao Paulo FC, whom everyone called Mama Emily. She smiled warmly and told Ho Young to come to her if he ever needed help. Ho Young thanked her and followed. She led him through a corridor before bringing him outside. A massive stadium stretched before him. Players were already warming up despite training still being 30 minutes away. Everyone looked fit, tall, and focused. Ho Young quietly admired their dedication. A voice suddenly called out. Someone asked if he was the player with a GPA of 9.1. Ho Young admitted it and added that his match evaluation score was 9.33. The surrounding players reacted with surprise and admiration. At the same time, Ho Young noticed everyone watching him carefully. Most of them were competing for the same opportunities. To them, he was another rival who could threaten their place. Rather than feeling uncomfortable, Ho Young became excited. Everyone here was risking everything for soccer. This was a true battlefield. Another familiar voice called from behind. Ho Young turned around and recognized Douglas Costa and Case Moreau. The two were equally surprised to see him. Ho Young immediately checked their talent boards. The familiar talents appeared again. Inside, he smiled greedily. Sooner or later, he planned to collect every talent they possessed. Meanwhile, Douglas and Case Moreau discussed their new teammate. Case Moreau believed Ho Young could raise the team's ranking. Douglas admitted that although Ho Young looked ordinary, he was exceptionally good at scoring. The others became excited after hearing that. Case Moreau reflected on the team's recent decline. Sao Paulo had once won the U13 championship 7 times, but weak strikers had caused their rankings to fall. Now he understood why Coach Carlo had promoted someone as young as Ho Young. Douglas suddenly noticed Ho Young had grown slightly taller. Case Moreau agreed. Coach Carlo then gathered everyone and announced that training would be adjusted for the new players. Ho Young became curious about what he would learn. Everyone began dribbling across the field. At first, the sessions seemed ordinary. Then Ho Young noticed something different. The atmosphere was relaxed and encouraged creativity. That was Brazil's training philosophy. Players trained freely while still following a structure program. During a passing drill, Ho Young received a signal from a teammate and attempted a pass. The ball drifted off target. He quietly sighed. His passing still could not match the pace of the U13 team. Several teammates noticed his mistakes. Coach Carlo walked over and explained that accurate passing depended on maintaining proper balance and body position. Passing while off balance or under pressure naturally reduced accuracy. Ho Young asked how to recognize the right moment to pass. The coach replied that some things could not be taught with words. Only constant practice allowed players to understand them. Ho Young nodded. As always, there was only one answer: practice. Later, the coaches reviewed his evaluation. Although Ho Young was clearly talented, they agreed his fundamentals still needed work. One coach suggested moving him to the U11 team because his stamina had not reached the U13 level. Coach Carlo immediately rejected the idea. Their responsibility was to help him develop faster. After only 6 months of professional training, Ho Young had already achieved remarkable progress. He simply needed time. Back on the field, Ho Young observed his teammates. There were talented players everywhere. His eyes settled on Douglas Costa. He had already copied and upgraded Douglas's speed machine talent. Only soccer prodigy B+ remained. Curious about what would happen if he copied the same talent again, Ho Young decided to test it. That day happened to be one of the team's regular practice sessions. Suddenly, Douglas walked over. He pointed at the striker position and told Ho Young to move back and play support striker. Ho Young refused. He insisted he would score. Douglas argued that he was faster and better suited to lead the attack. Ho Young immediately challenged him. Had Douglas forgotten their last race? If they sprinted again, Ho Young believed he could win. Douglas laughed and accepted. A teammate volunteered to referee. Both boys took their positions. The countdown began. At the signal, they exploded forward. Douglas was shocked to find Ho Young nearly matching his speed. He had to push himself to the limit just to stay ahead. They crossed the finish line almost together. Douglas barely won. Their teammates rushed over in amazement. The race had been incredibly close. Douglas stared at Ho Young in disbelief. If their physical condition were equal, Ho Young would already be the better player. Grinding his teeth, Douglas finally gave in. He pointed toward the striker position and admitted defeat. Ho Young could play up front. Douglas would move to support striker. Ho Young placed a hand on his chest and confidently assured everyone that they only needed to deliver accurate passes, and he would handle the rest. Training resumed. Douglas Costa fed him a perfect pass. Ho Young finished cleanly and buried the ball in the net. Another precise pass followed. Once again, Ho Young converted it into a goal. 3 weeks later, the system notification finally appeared. Both conditions had been completed. Satisfied, Ho Young selected Soccer Prodigy B+. A bright light burst from the system panel. The notification updated. Soccer Prodigy had advanced to B+2. Ho Young smiled with satisfaction. The upgrade had succeeded. From now on, all he needed to do was keep training. He carefully worked through every drill, passing to teammates while reminding himself that continuous practice was the only path forward. A month later, another training match was underway. While battling for possession, Ho Young reminded himself that accurate passing required perfect balance in every situation. He immediately delivered a clean pass to a teammate. Several players watching from the stands noticed the improvement. His technique looked completely different. Ho Young quietly compared himself to the past. Before upgrading Soccer Prodigy, mastering this skill would have taken an entire month. Now it only required 15 days, and he could already apply it naturally in matches. He still did not fully understand everything the upgraded talent changed, but the improvement was obvious. Training continued. Coach Carlos stopped him during a dribbling drill. He explained that dribbling was not just about moving the feet. The entire body had to move in harmony with the ball. Proper balance allowed a player to stay stable even under physical pressure. Ho Young listened carefully and acknowledged the advice. As always, he realized true understanding only came through practical training. He immediately applied the lesson and smoothly dribbled past another teammate. Later, during free training, Ho Young approached Case Moreau. He invited him to play the crown game. The rules were simple. Whoever stole the ball became king, while the loser had to follow the winner's orders. Case Moreau looked puzzled and asked why Ho Young suddenly wanted to play. Ho Young smiled and praised him as the team's best defender. Case Moreau proudly accepted. Inside, however, Ho Young had another objective. The system displayed Casemiro's talents. Soccer prodigy B+, cutting the ball in a flash B, effective blocking C. The conditions appeared. Practice shielding the ball together for 120 minutes. Protect the ball for 5 consecutive minutes without letting Case Moreau steal it. Ho Young smiled to himself. His real goal was copying Casemiro's talents. The challenge began. Ho Young started with possession. Less than 3 minutes later, Case Moreau stole the ball. The timer stopped. Ho Young knelt on the ground, breathing heavily. Case Moreau calmly stood with the ball. Ho Young admitted that Case Moreau truly deserved his reputation. With soccer prodigy B+ and years of experience, his fundamentals were exceptional. Closing that gap would require relentless practice. Ho Young immediately stood up and resumed training. Day after day, he repeated the same routine. Knowing he started professional soccer later than everyone else, he trained harder than anyone. Another month passed. During another crown game, the timer finally reached 5 minutes. The referee announced time. Ho Young still controlled the ball. He cheered in excitement. He had finally succeeded. He silently thanked his improved soccer prodigy B+2 talent. The system immediately appeared. It offered 3 choices. Soccer prodigy B+, cutting the ball in a flash B, effective blocking C. Ho Young selected effective blocking C. His updated talent list appeared. Rhythmic flexibility C, talented feet C+, effective blocking C. Ho Young folded his arms and looked proudly at the growing list. Every new talent strengthened his foundation as a future professional. The future ahead looked brighter than ever. Out on the field, he rejoined his teammates with renewed confidence. One coach quietly observed him. Something about Ho Young's growth felt different. Another coach wearing glasses admitted that Ho Young's development had already reached the top level of the U13 league, although he still wondered whether those abilities would translate perfectly into official matches. Coach Carlos showed no hesitation. Ho Young always performed even better under real match pressure. Without further discussion, Carlo made his decision. Ho Young would play in the upcoming match against Paranitz. The assistant was surprised because it was an important game. Carlos simply nodded. That was exactly why Ho Young would play. August 1st, round 23 of the U13 Weekly League. Inside the locker room, Coach Carlo briefed the team. Their opponent was CA Paranitz, currently 3rd in the standings. Sao Paulo sat 4th, making this a crucial match. The coach highlighted their ace defender, Fabio. Fabio possessed outstanding tackling ability and excellent distribution. Ho Young's assignment was simple. Lead the press from the front, while constantly rotating positions with Douglas to create space. Ho Young accepted immediately. Soon both teams entered the field. His heart quietly repeated one thought. His official debut had finally arrived. He had waited a long time for this moment. This would be the first professional match of his soccer career. Standing on the field, Ho Young smiled. He remembered watching soccer on television with his family as a child, dreaming of moments exactly like this. Now that dream had become reality. A hand suddenly reached toward him. It was Fabio. The two shook hands and wished each other a good match. Looking directly at his opponent, Ho Young finally recognized him. So this was Fabio, the ace defender. At the same time, Ho Young checked Fabio's status window. Talents: soccer prodigy C+, agile feet B, sharp ball distribution C, accurate tackling C-. Copy conditions: win the match and score 2 goals. After reading it, Ho Young rubbed his chin. So the invincible defender of the U13 league is only at this level? Then he thought about Douglas Costa and Case Moreau. Maybe practicing with top players like them has raised my standards. A sly smile spread across his face. If the entire U13 league is like this, then I can dominate it too. My physique and experience still aren't enough, but with the talents I already have, I'm confident. The match between CA Paranense and Sao Paulo FC kicked off. Both teams immediately moved into position. Ho Young carried the ball forward at full speed, while Fabio stayed tight behind him. Watching from the bench, Coach Carlo could hardly believe the difference. The reckless boy who relied only on raw acceleration last year was gone. Now Ho Young's dribbling, passing, and even defending had improved beyond expectations. He looked as if he controlled the entire field. Even Fabio, known for his perfect defense, struggled to keep up. Coach Carlo smiled with satisfaction. Ho Young had taken another step forward. 15 minutes into the first half, Ho Young continued driving the attack. The warm-up was over. Near the penalty area, he noticed Douglas completely marked. The two exchanged a glance and immediately understood each other. Douglas suddenly abandoned his marker and sprinted toward Ho Young. Ho Young smiled and flicked the ball back with his heel. Douglas collected it and burst away. Fabio stared in surprise. They switched positions. The Sao Paulo players cheered as the defense collapsed. After releasing the ball, Ho Young sprinted into open space. The defenders shouted for someone to stop him, but he ignored them and kept running. Douglas soon returned the pass. Ho Young controlled it cleanly. Facing only the goalkeeper, he drew back his leg. After 7 months of hard work in Brazil, this was the moment he had been waiting for. He struck the ball powerfully. It flew into the corner of the net. Goal! Ho Young burst into laughter as he ran across the field. Hard work never betrays you. He was so happy that celebrating hardly crossed his mind. Coach Carlo remained calm. The first half was nearing its end. Ho Young continued controlling possession with confidence. The coach silently analyzed his progress. His running had become much more efficient. His passing rhythm and ball control were noticeably better. Still, Fabio's constant pressure meant Ho Young needed to manage his stamina carefully. Taking advantage of Fabio's momentary lapse, Ho Young slipped a pass to a teammate. Fabio cursed under his breath. Even while tightly marking him, Ho Young kept breaking through. Determined not to fall behind, Fabio vowed to catch him no matter what. Soon Ho Young and Douglas combined again. Fabio recognized another position switch. This time, however, Douglas surprised everyone by sending the ball elsewhere. Case Moreau burst forward to receive it. Fabio realized too late that he had focused entirely on Ho Young and Douglas. Case Moreau drove toward goal while Ho Young called for the pass. Case Moreau delivered it immediately. Ho Young controlled the ball and prepared to shoot. He remembered the delicate touch sense talent. Using a one-touch control, he fired instantly. The goalkeeper managed to block it. The rebound flew away. The crowd groaned in disappointment. His teammates on the bench shared the same reaction. Ho Young closed his eyes briefly. Such a great chance. Maybe my left foot still lacks enough power and accuracy. But he quickly smiled again. That was still a good sign. If he could create chances like this, the goals would eventually come. His months of training in ball control, passing, and dribbling had become second nature. Those fundamentals now kept his play stable in every situation. A smile slowly spread across his face. What kind of player will I become? For a long time, becoming the world's best player had only been a dream. Now it finally felt possible. No, I will definitely reach the top. As expected, soccer really is fun. The scoreboard still read 1-0 as the first half ended. Inside the CA Paranense locker room, the blonde head coach exploded with anger. He scolded Fabio for failing to contain a smaller opponent. Fabio quietly explained that Sao Paulo kept rotating positions. The coach immediately cut him off. If they switch positions, divide the defensive zones and limit their movement. How many times have I taught you that? Fabio lowered his head and apologized. The coach slammed the tactics board. The problem wasn't only Fabio. Everyone had to adapt to Sao Paulo's style and remember everything they had practiced. The players answered together. Yes, coach. Although they acknowledged the instructions, the coach clenched his teeth. They had entered the tournament hoping to finish third, but they refused to let Sao Paulo FC stand in their way. At halftime, the Sao Paulo coach instructed the team not to become defensive despite holding a 1-goal lead. Instead, they would lure the opponents forward, exploit the gaps in their defense, and continue attacking. He especially encouraged Ho Young to use everything he had learned and give his maximum effort in the second half. As play resumed, Coach Carlo immediately noticed that the opposition had switched to a zonal defense to stop Sao Paulo's transition attacks. Ho Young recognized the adjustment as well and understood that each defender was now responsible for protecting a specific area instead of marking individual players. While his teammates exchanged passes, Ho Young quietly slipped into the empty space behind the defensive line. Case Moreau spotted the opening and delivered a perfectly timed pass. Although Fabio stayed close, Ho Young controlled the ball, quickly linked up with Douglas, then continued his run into space. Surrounded by two defenders, he calmly relied on the passing drills he had practiced countless times and delivered a perfectly weighted pass back to Douglas, who finished the move with a powerful shot to secure a 2-0 victory for Sao Paulo FC. As the team celebrated, the system appeared and rewarded Ho Young with the opportunity to copy Charball Distribution C. After selecting it, his status window updated, adding another talent to his growing collection. Looking over his expanding list of abilities, he began imagining new ways to combine them, but also realized he was still far from reaching his full potential and would have to continue training even harder. After the match, the coach praised Case Moreau for his contribution before walking over to Ho Young, giving him a light tap on the head and acknowledging his excellent performance. Rather than minding the playful gesture, Ho Young accepted the praise with determination, promising himself to perform even better next time. Later, Ho Young returned to the boarding house, carrying 2 bags of snacks. Maria Choi quickly noticed them and realized he had won his match. Although she insisted he did not need to spend money on everyone, Ho Young explained that it was simply his way of thanking everyone for helping him learn Portuguese. Earlier that day, he had received both a performance bonus and a goal bonus, so he felt rewarding everyone was well-deserved. After setting the snacks down, Ho Young hurried upstairs before anyone could stop him. He immediately called his parents and proudly shared that he had been named the MVP of the match. Hearing the news, both of his parents celebrated with overwhelming excitement. Watching them rejoice filled Ho Young with happiness, reminding him that sharing his achievements with his family was one of the greatest rewards of all. Following that victory, Sao Paulo FC continued its winning streak and climbed to second place in the league. Ho Young became one of the club's key players, recording 13 goals and 3 assists in just 8 matches. With those performances, Sao Paulo advanced to the knockout stage and moved only 2 wins away from lifting the championship trophy. One evening, Ho Young and Maria Choi watched a professional match on television. A brilliant goal from Christian Ziege left Ho Young full of admiration. Christian Ziege had always been one of his biggest idols, and watching him play inspired Ho Young to dream of meeting him one day. Unable to contain his excitement, Ho Young immediately left for the training ground. He spent the evening practicing his shooting alone while a passing girl quietly stopped to watch his dedication from a distance. Only after Ho Young finally paused to rest did Emily approach, acknowledge his hard work, and greet him as he opened a bottle of water. Emily sat beside Ho Young and gently pointed out that the team had 3 days off before the knockout stage, wondering why he was still training so hard less than half a day after the previous match. Ho Young simply explained that he still had plenty of energy and wanted to make the most of every chance to train on such a world-class field. Even before returning to the past, he had always spent his holidays practicing because of his love for soccer. Hearing that, Emily smiled, realizing he was far more dedicated than most players. After chatting for a while, Ho Young searched through his bag and offered Emily a bag of roasted chestnuts, his favorite snack. She gladly accepted the thoughtful gift, thanked him, and watched him leave for the day. Soon after, the club director happened to pass by and noticed the chestnuts. Curious, he accepted one after Emily explained that Ho Young had given them to her. When she mentioned the young player from the U13 team, the director remembered seeing his name in recent reports and became interested after hearing how impressive his performances had been. Meanwhile, Ho Young returned to the training ground alone. Although he had only spent 2 months with the club, he could already feel himself improving rapidly. His repeated matches against talented opponents had helped him acquire several new abilities. His latest talent, Sharp 1-2 Pass C-, specialized in quick passing combinations between 2 attackers against a single defender. At the same time, both skillful legs and graceful rhythm had advanced to C+2 through repeated growth. While reviewing his updated talents, Ho Young realized something important. Simply copying the same ability over and over was no longer enough to raise its rank. Advancing beyond certain levels would require acquiring stronger versions of the same talent. His attention then shifted to an even bigger objective, earning the legendary abilities of Cha Bumkuan. To fulfill those conditions, he still needed to score more than 30 goals from over 30 meters away in official matches and reach the semifinals of a FIFA-recognized tournament. Determined to prepare, Ho Young spent the next 2 hours repeatedly practicing long-range shots. Countless powerful strikes slammed into the net until the system finally rewarded his effort. Powerful shot from mid-range had successfully advanced to C+2. Satisfied with the improvement, Ho Young decided to continue strengthening his abilities during the preseason while keeping his immediate focus on the upcoming knockout stage. Soon, the semifinal arrived as Sao Paulo prepared to face Capistan. Their opponents had carefully studied Ho Young's performances and built an extremely compact defensive system centered on stopping him. 5 midfielders crowded the center while the defenders stayed deep, hoping to deny him any space. Coach Carlo immediately recognized the strategy, but remained calm because Sao Paulo had prepared its own counterplan. As the match kicked off, Douglas Costa and Ho Young exchanged a quick glance before executing their rehearsed combination. Douglas released the ball early, allowing Ho Young to receive it without slowing down. With his upgraded abilities, every movement became sharper and more decisive. His reactions were nearly instantaneous, his dribbling smoother than ever, and the ball seemed glued to his feet. By constantly changing speed and direction, he slipped past the first defender before anyone could react. Fabio immediately ordered his teammates to stay on Ho Young at all costs, believing that stopping him was the key to winning the match. However, knowing what Ho Young intended and actually stopping him were two completely different things. His acceleration, refined technique, and steadily growing collection of talents had elevated every aspect of his game. One defender after another was left behind as he burst through the defensive line, carrying the ball ever closer to the opponent's goal. The opposing players desperately chased after Ho Young, but the more they tried, the more impossible it felt to stop him. His superior technique, speed, and physical ability allowed him to dominate the field while keeping complete control of the ball. With one final strike, the ball flew toward the goal like an arrow, leaving the goalkeeper frozen as it found the back of the net. That decisive goal secured Sao Paulo's place in the tournament final, while the bench and coaching staff celebrated with relief. Despite the victory, Coach Carlo quickly turned everyone's attention to the final against SC Corinthians, a team led by an exceptional player capable of changing a match on his own. Without a way to contain him, winning the championship would be extremely difficult. The following day, instead of resting, the squad immediately returned to training. Every session centered on preparing for Alexander Pato, a prodigy many considered the next Pelé. Even at a young age, he was already viewed as one of Brazil's brightest talents and a future star. Although he had only recently joined Corinthians, he had already scored 18 goals in 14 matches, making him the favorite for the Golden Ball Award. Coach Carlo believed that while Pato was extraordinary, soccer was still a team sport. Corinthians' chemistry had not fully developed, giving Sao Paulo an opportunity if they strengthened their teamwork and exploited the opponent's weaknesses. Every player, including Ho Young, Case Moreau, and Douglas Costa, listened carefully as the coach outlined the plan before sending everyone off to warm up and continue tactical drills. As the players trained, the coaching staff discussed possible formations. They expected Corinthians to use a 4-3-2-1 system, while considering several defensive approaches to limit Pato. However, their biggest concern remained Ho Young, since Corinthians would undoubtedly focus on shutting down Sao Paulo's main attacking weapon. Coach Carlo quietly hinted that he already had a solution. Soon, the day of the final arrived. Inside the locker room, the team gathered for one last motivational speech before taking the field. After completing their traditional huddle, the coach personally reminded Ho Young that this match was his chance to show everyone what he was capable of. Filled with confidence, Ho Young stepped onto the field determined to prove himself. During the pre-match handshake, Ho Young immediately focused on Pato and activated the system. As expected, the Brazilian prodigy possessed extraordinary talents, including machine feet A+ and soccer prodigy A. The system displayed challenging conditions for copying those abilities, requiring Ho Young to win the final, earn the regional golden ball, or score 2 goals. Seeing those abilities, Ho-young finally understood why Pato was regarded as a true genius rather than simply another talented player. The thought of someday obtaining those abilities only strengthened his determination. When the referee signaled the start of the match, Ho-young moved into an unfamiliar position. Instead of playing his usual attacking role, he lined up in midfield, surprising both Pato and the opposing coaching staff. That unexpected positioning was the result of Coach Carlo's secret preparation over the previous few days. During private training sessions, the coach had assigned Ho-young a new responsibility as the team's central link. Rather than simply attacking, he would receive passes from Case Moreau, quickly distribute them to Douglas Costa, and decide the best option whenever space became limited. Ho-young quickly understood that his job was to connect defense and attack while choosing the fastest route forward. Once he grasped the concept, the entire squad repeatedly drilled the passing sequences until every movement became instinctive. For several days, the team practiced countless passing combinations and attacking patterns. Ho-young devoted so much time to mastering ball distribution that he temporarily reduced his work on other basic skills. The extra effort paid off when his sharp ball distribution talent advanced to C++. Satisfied with his improvement, Coach Carlo immediately reintegrated Ho-young into full team training, where both offensive and defensive drills became increasingly intense. Even 3 days before the final, the team continued repeating every movement until their positioning and passing became automatic reflexes, ensuring they would execute the strategy instinctively once the championship match began. Despite the demanding training schedule, Ho-young never complained. He quietly pushed through every session, determined to finish the season in spectacular fashion. Watching the team train, Coach Carlo believed the entire strategy depended on one player. The link between defense and attack would be Ho-young, and the success of every tactical plan rested on his performance. The coach had already studied Pato throughout the tournament. Although he knew the Brazilian prodigy's speed was unmatched, he also knew there was no realistic way to stop him completely. Instead, Sao Paulo would rely on Ho-young to control the flow of the match. Corinthians' coach, however, found himself in a difficult position. He had prepared for Ho-young to play as a striker, only to discover him lining up in midfield. The unexpected positional change completely disrupted Corinthians' plans, forcing them to surrender the initiative early. As the referee's whistle signaled the start of the final, Corinthians controlled possession first. Their midfield patiently searched for openings, but Sao Paulo's compact defensive shape left almost no space. Unable to advance directly, the ball was switched across the field before a lofted pass reached a skilled winger, who easily dribbled past 2 defenders and carried the attack into midfield. Seeing an opening, he quickly fed the ball to Pato. The blue-haired prodigy received it effortlessly before immediately sending a perfectly weighted through ball into space. Before anyone could react, he exploded forward with incredible acceleration, outrunning every defender as though they were standing still. Sao Paulo's players desperately chased him while the goalkeeper prepared for the inevitable one-on-one. Remaining calm, Pato finished the move with clinical precision, scoring the opening goal only 5 minutes into the match. Corinthians celebrated while Sao Paulo stood in silence. Despite spending days preparing specifically to stop Pato, they had conceded almost immediately. His explosive dribbling and acceleration proved every bit as dangerous as expected. Ho-young clenched his teeth before calming himself. One goal was not enough to decide the championship. As long as Corinthians did not score again, Sao Paulo would still have a chance. The match reached the 30-minute mark with Sao Paulo still searching for an equalizer. Ho-young realized the team's defense was under too much pressure for him to remain in an advanced attacking role. Case Moreau alone could not contain Pato, so Ho-young continued dropping deeper to support the defense while waiting for opportunities to launch attacks. Whenever Corinthians threatened again, he constantly organized the players around him, helping Case Moreau regain his focus whenever the defense showed signs of losing concentration. Eventually, the halftime whistle arrived with Corinthians leading 1-0. Inside the locker room, the players expected a harsh lecture after falling behind. Instead, Coach Carlos surprised everyone by praising their performance.